All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening. It is now 6:30. It is time to start the regular City Council meeting. It's June 9, 2026. We are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could please rise. I have Nyla Hall that is going to do the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge. Fire when ready. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Nyla. Do you want your picture? Yes. All right, if you can please remain standing, we have Pastor Carlton Harris going to do the invocation.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, and all those present, let us pray. In the name of Jesus, we approach the throne of grace tonight. For Father, we know that you are Jehovah Shalom, the Lord our peace. And so I thank you that your peace would abide in this place as the council sits and makes decision and hear from the public. We come against any acts of confusion, but we pray for understanding in all matters. Let things be resolved to bring honor and glory to your name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to move on through this agenda here, and we're going to do the mayor's report. I'll try to be brief, but there's a few things I'd like to touch on. Last week, I attended the Bastrop County Workforce Alignment meeting. Just want to bring that up just to show and talk about the importance of the workforce here in our community and surrounding areas. Through them and other places like career tracks, we're steady looking at different avenues they're steady looking at different avenues of the workforce and really trying to give students an opportunity to go into a career as they get out of high school, and as well as adults being able to find their career path if they haven't. So really appreciate what they do and being able to sit in on that. It was me and some county officials, local people as well. I also, and I'm sure Councilman Lowe will have something to say about this, but we co-hosted the Farm Street Opry, and it was quite enjoyable. It wasn't as good as Abbott and Costello, but we were close. We were close. So really did enjoy that. The artists that were there, gosh, I can't remember the name, but they put on a heck of a show. Saturday, I attended the March for Jesus, and appreciate being invited to have something to say. Sunday, I did the Unsung Heroes, which is basically the African American Cultural Center. That's it, right? It's not. They went to acronyming it that on Sunday, but just attended that as we honored the older generation in our community, those who have set the path forward for us. They're generally in our eldership, and so just really appreciate the opportunity to be there, to speak with the people who laid the foundation for the next generation. Just want to remind people. This Friday, we have the Splash Bash that's happening at Fisherman's Park. It's starting at 5:30 or 5 o'clock. If you want an opportunity to dunk in a city official, come on out. There'll be a few of us in the dunk tank. I know I'll be in there. Our city manager, up there it is right there. Friday, June 12th, 5 to 8. So I hope I'm not stealing anyone's thunder with that. I just want to make sure that y'all come up. You'll have opportunities to dunk people in the dunk tank. And just a couple other things. We have City of Bastrop has some employment opportunities, so please get online, fill out an application and see if there's a job for you. And there's one more thing. Also, City of Bastrop has a downtown survey on Facebook. So please get on there and fill out the survey. We really could use the understanding and input from the citizens. I'm sure Michaela and her team would greatly appreciate that. That's all I have. See who we start with. This time it's yeah, I know last time we went Councilman Lowe. So, well, it looks like Councilman Lowe, it's on you. Councilman Fossler is not. Councilmember Fossler, are you? Yeah, okay, well, we'll save your long for last and let Councilmember Lowe go.
Good evening. How y'all doing? I was not prepared to go. No, I'm kidding. First off, I want to start my report by offering my most sincere and heartfelt condolences to the city manager, passing of her father. As always, we lift you and the entire family up. And it's a difficult time, so Rob is going through some things as well, so y'all are getting on both ends. So we just lift y'all up in prayer and hope everything is okay, and you can always reach out.
Amen.
All right. As the city council liaison for the library, I encourage and strongly encourage everyone to go out and check everything out the library has to offer. There's a lot of programs, a lot of summer lineups that they have, so just go check in at the library website and see what's going on and maybe some things that you and the kids can do in the summer just to keep them out of trouble, keep them out of the street. So that's always good. As Mayor Harris said, sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Went to the street, I'm sorry.
Who is that?
Let's pull it back in. No, I went to the Unsung Heroes celebration, and it was really a great time. The event celebrated the elders in our African-American community and their countless lifetime achievements, and there were some great ones. The criteria for this beautiful honor is the recipient must be over the age of 80. So you must be an elder, and a lot of them was done posthumously, but there was a lot of education and a lot of sign of the times. I don't know the one recipient, but she was 100 years old and she's seen a lot of things. And so that was good to get that insight and knowledge and have those people living and talk to. And finally, the mayor talked about the Splash Bash, but I want to encourage everyone to get involved in local governance and stay updated in city council meetings and local issues. Follow my Facebook page. We try to get some simplified stuff to get you interested, just to see how that is and understand what's going on. Again, like I always say, I truly believe that an informed community is a stronger community. So I just invite everyone to tune in and engage, and I yield my time with that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Lowe. Councilmember Meyer.
Thank you. Councilmember Lowe, why did you look at me and hesitate so long when you said they must be over the age of 80, and then you stared at me? But anyway, that was an amazing event, the Unsung Heroes, it really was, and I'll tell you what an inspiration all those people were, so thank you so much to the Bastrop County African American Museum for putting that on. Also, I just want to give a huge shout out to Michaela Joyce, who heads up Discover Bastrop, and her whole team of Discover Bastrop. But especially last week at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon, Michaela did an amazing presentation as to what it is Discover Bastrop is all about. And I'll tell you what, it's a lot. They got a lot going on. It's super exciting. Kudos to you, Michaela, so thank you so much for that. One thing I want everyone to be aware of is tomorrow from 12:30 to 1:30, 1 hour. It's called Lunch and Learn, and it's at the museum and visitor center on Main Street. And the subject tomorrow is going to be the stories behind the signers of the Declaration of Independence, the stories that you don't know. So that ought to be really interesting. Bring your lunch. There is not lunch there. So bring your lunch and take an extra lunch just in case somebody didn't bring their lunch. And then go down and find out the fun facts about the signers of the Declaration. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Meyer. And just one other thing about Michaela and her team. She was on HGTV doing an interview. What are we, the most charming town in America, right? So congratulations, Bastrop, for that. Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
Okay, I think I've got something that no one else has. So I'm going to read this briefly. It says, given in the town of Bastrop on the 8th day of the month of June in the year 1832, I, Miguel Arciniega, commissioner appointed by the Supreme Government of the state of Texas, do hereby grant 4 leagues of water and woods to the benefit of the citizens of Bastrop. So yesterday was Bastrop's 192nd birthday. That's it.
Yep, we have a few more years to go before we hit 200. All right. Councilmember Plunkett.
I know you don't expect me to top that.
Oh, man. I look, today, yes, I expect you to top that. That, you know, that's a little bit less than what you give us, so. You don't have anything? All right. Councilmember Fossler.
Thank you. Yes, I want to echo the condolences to Sylvia on the passing of her father. I keep telling her, like, take time away from us. And then there she was today presenting at the Bastrop Real Estate Roundtable. I'm like, you really? Thank you for always showing up, and you know the subject matter so well that you can speak in any emotional setting. So I just thank you. But yes, please take time away from us when you need us. On June 3rd, I attended the Austin Bastrop River Corridor Partnership meeting at Smithville City Hall. They've been meeting bi-monthly for 23 years. It's a group of individuals and organizations who are fierce protectors of the Colorado River that we all know and love between here and Austin. And if you'd like to join them, their next meeting, they meet every 2 months. The next one, it's always the first Wednesday of the month, so at the same time as the chamber luncheon. The next one will be August, the first Wednesday from 10 to 12 at Hornsby Bend. But that's a really passionate group of individuals. Let's see, this past Friday, I was super happy to read the Pride Proclamation at Bastrop Pride's 5th annual street fair. It was a very welcoming, colorful, still have tinsel in my hair, colorful celebratory street festival in downtown Bastrop. It was the biggest one yet. There were over 40 vendors and between 300 and 400 visitors. And Pride is hosting events all over Bastrop County for the month of June, including a hike this Saturday at the Colorado River Refuge from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And you can see their full calendar events on their website, bastroppride.org. Let's see, on Saturday, most of council attended the Unsung Heroes. I won't go into that again, but I will leave my beautiful program, the souvenir booklet, over by the agendas if you guys want to look through it during the meeting, because they really, this is beautiful. This is a work of art, so I'll leave it over there after my report, and y'all can look through it. Let's see. This Saturday, we've got really great music at the Chestnut Grove Food Court. Tiffany Christopher Music is playing 12 to 2. Also the Juneteenth Beauty Pageant. Is it called Beauty Pageant or just Pageant? Essence of Beauty is this Saturday at the Opera House from 1 to 4 p.m. I think kids' tickets are like $12. Are you in it? Is she in it? Cool, very good. I think kids' tickets are $12.50 and adults' tickets are like $23, and there are some tickets left. So that's at the Opera House. Get your tickets online. And then also this Saturday, Main Street Yoga is having a prom open house dance party. So if you're feeling like dancing, come to Main Street Yoga. And then next Sunday, of course, next weekend is all the Juneteenth things, which we'll go into. But I want to tell you also about next Sunday is Father's Day. And also Hannibal Lacumbe is hosting a walk of love starting at 6 p.m. Everyone's going to wear white. We meet at Paul Quinn AME Church and then walk together to Calvary Episcopal Church. And that's where the concert will be. But please get your tickets online because it will sell out. Let's see. Yes, they're saying, please get tickets. There are some tickets still available, but please do get tickets. They're like by donation only, and then there will be an overflow room at Calvary Episcopal, but you want to be in the room. Trust me, you want to be in the room. So book your tickets and then show up early to get in that ticket line so you're in the room. And happy early Father's Day to all you fathers out there. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Fossler. Just one of the things, speaking for next week, for those who are watching and even those who are in attendance, let me get to it so I can make sure I'm sharing the right information. On June 16th, 17th, and 18th, throughout the county, there will be several meetings regarding the data centers. And so there's one in Elgin on the 16th, right, Smithfield on the 17th, and the 18th it'll be here in Bastrop at the Bastrop Community Center up by Mayfest Park. So if you're interested in those, they're starting at 6 o'clock on each day at each location. So, all right, thank you, council members. Madam City Manager.
Thank you all. My father did pass on Friday, and I was fortunate that I got to be by his bedside, so thank you, council, for allowing me the disconnect time. I didn't know him for very long, but the short time period that I did know him was a hoot. He was a great person, gave Robert a hard time all the time. So again, very appreciative of all the calls and texts and care. So it really means a lot. The staff's great. So let's talk about the work that's actually going on. So you received messages, and we have things all over social media about Buttonwood closure and church and everything else, and everybody expects the streets to hurry up and be paved. Well, there's a little bit of underground work that has to happen, and so some of the closures that you see are because wastewater is at breakneck speed trying to stay ahead of the streets division. So we have work from Buttonwood from Wilson to Maine that is getting worked on, Church to Maine, and also on Gutierrez from Water to College. So significant amount of work. The streets department is still working on other streets in the city, but these are the ones that we have listed on our list. And so I wanted to make sure everybody understood what's happening underneath the streets as we move forward for street repair. And then here we go, street repair. So Fireman's Park, if you've been by there, you see that they're demoing a portion of the parking lot to relay that parking lot, which is part of the overall plan to improve both of those parking areas. The cemetery, we laid crushed concrete from the old bridge. So this is just another example of the streets department really putting in the work and using every available dime, dollar, and rock. I got asked today, what are the big piles of dirt over at Mayfest Park? Well, those are dirt that we're using and rock that we're using for street, but any extra we end up taking to Fairview Cemetery. And so we're laying streets in Fairview as we have the extra from the streets. Again, no cost to the taxpayers. Those are sales tax dollars. And then Delgado Park, so we've got a detention pond location that the engineers have located. Streets department doesn't agree with the location, and I have a tendency to believe the operators instead of the engineers. No offense to the engineers in the room. So we're gonna get that going, but Delgado parking lot is up next. They just need to sort that out. They're waiting for concrete or the weather to cooperate to finish the curb over at the PD parking lot, which also has been a source of contention for Vicky and staff, having to overflow, and then they take up parking that the dog park needs, and so this will be good for everybody involved. And then I really want to give a shout out to staff on the City Hall parking lot. While I was gone, somebody saw something and said something. There was a crack in the parking lot at City Hall. They said something. Streets department came and looked, and we were within hours, if not days, of a total cave-in right here at City Hall. I will say we pulled the plans. I will say the parking lot probably wasn't built to specification, but needless to say, we have new parking lot poured. We will be addressing the other drainage. And just for folks to understand, there are large drainage grates under the parking lot, and anytime there's a failure, it's usually because water has rushed in and removed what's down there. And so it's not unusual for drainage areas, but this building isn't even 20 years old. So a little bit of point of contention. We'll get to the bottom of that, but I am very glad that there was not a car parked or a person that was walking through there when that could have happened. So we will address the other. Great. So thank you for bearing with us as we have you park across the street and in other areas tonight. And the mayor's already mentioned Splash Bash. So please come. I will be in the dunk tank. So if you want to take a shot at me, there's your day. And it's free.
You get as many balls as you want.
Yeah. All right, Mayor, you're in it too. So.
Oh yeah, I'm going first, so just make sure y'all show up at 5:30. I'll be there at 5 to get there at 5:30.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Madam City Manager. All right, I have a couple of proclamations I'm going to read tonight. We'll start with the Juneteenth, that way I won't I hope not to be a downer in my next one, but we'll start off with the Juneteenth proclamation. For those of you who don't know, would you like to come up? So that way I don't ruin it. Would you like to talk about the Juneteenth events? Madam Chair.
Good evening. We kicked
Who
off.
are you?
Oh, my name is Sheila Lowe. Sorry, my name is Sheila Lowe. I'm the chair of the Bastrop Juneteenth Committee, Celebration Committee. We kicked off Juneteenth last weekend with our Crowned Legacy event, and we've got several more things that are happening. That one was an event of ladies that came together, different generations, and they were able to sit and talk about life and just share with each other, and it was nice. It was a small group, and it was the first time we did it. This weekend on the 13th is our Essence of Beauty pageant. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have 17 contestants in 5 different categories. We're going to be at the Opera House, and it's from 1 to 4 o'clock. Next week is our recognition banquet that is on Juneteenth. It's at the Opera House. I'm sorry. It is at the Convention Center. Do not go to the Opera House next Friday. It's at the Convention Center. It starts at 5:30 because that is the Email School reunion. And then at 7 o'clock, the actual banquet starts. And it's the recognition banquet. We are recognizing 8 individuals. The mayor has one award that he's given, and then the committee has 7 other awards that we're giving. And then on Saturday, we have the parade that starts at 10 o'clock. I would like to say that we are going down Main Street as the community has requested, and we listened, and we're doing that. But because we're going down Main Street, we would like everyone for them to line up and sit between starting at the post office going down to Pine Street. In the years past, we've lined up on Cedar Street and at the end of Main Street closer to Tracy's, but Frontier Bank has offered for us to use their balcony to do the announcing, and so we want to make sure that we are appreciative and we're all in that area. So from the post office to Main Street is where we'd like everybody to view the parade. And if it's that many people and it starts at Tracy's, that's fine, but that's the main viewing area. And then immediately after the parade is the festival, and it's at Fisherman's Park, and it's going to be from 11 to 3. And we've got, I think we have 18 food vendors that are going to be there, and probably about 22 community merchant vendors that'll be there. And then later on that night at 7 o'clock, we're going to be back on Main Street for the street dance. Okay, and also, I'm sorry, on Saturday, the 13th, after the pageant, we have Man Talk.
Is that Friday or Saturday?
That's Saturday.
So, yeah, this Saturday, right?
This Saturday on the
Okay.
13th. So after the pageant, we have Man Talk. That is in partnership with Heal Alliance. And it's just the male version of what we did last week with the females, and it's different generations of guys that are coming together just talking about life.
All right. Sounds like we got a whole lot of activities
lot.
celebrating the 40th anniversary of the
Yes.
Juneteenth here in
Yes.
Bastrop. So, awesome. All right, well, thank y'all for that. So whereas Juneteenth commemorates June 19th, 1865, the day the Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, to announce and enforce the emancipation of enslaved African Americans more than 2 years after the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation. And whereas Juneteenth stands as a powerful reminder of the enduring pursuit of freedom, equality, and justice for all people. And whereas, long before formal establishment of the Bastrop Juneteenth celebration in 1986, African American families and communities throughout Bastrop County honored Juneteenth through church services, family reunions, community picnics, ice cream socials, baseball games, music, fellowship, and gatherings that preserve cultural traditions and strengthen community bonds. And whereas these early celebrations provided opportunities for generations to share stories, honor their ancestors, celebrate freedom, and pass the rich history and heritage of African Americans in Bastrop County. And whereas in 1986, community leaders and volunteers established the Bastrop Juneteenth celebration to ensure that the significance of Juneteenth would continue to be recognized and celebrated for future generations. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 40th anniversary of the Bastrop Juneteenth celebration, honoring 4 decades of community leadership, cultural preservation, and the ongoing commitment of educating future generations about the history and significance of Juneteenth. And whereas the 40th anniversary celebration will include the Essence of Beauty pageant, recognition banquet, Juneteenth parade, family freedom festival, street dance, historical exhibits, community fellowship, and other activities designed to celebrate freedom, heritage, and unity. And whereas Juneteenth offers the opportunity to honor the history, resilience, and contributions of African Americans while fostering unity and understanding within our community. Now, therefore, I, Ishmael Harris, Mayor of the City of Bastrop, Texas, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth, and further recognize and celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Bastrop Juneteenth celebration, encouraging all residents and visitors to participate in events and activities commemorating the historical milestone and to honor the legacy of freedom, perseverance, culture, and community that Juneteenth represents. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the City of Bastrop, Texas, to be affixed on this 9th day of June 2026. All right, I'll do one more proclamation. For those of you who don't know, June carries a lot of things in the month of it as far as proclamation. One of them is Men's Mental Health Month is what June is. And, you know, it's mental health has really been heavy on my mind and my heart over the last couple of weeks, especially for men, not taking anything from anyone else, but just as a man, I understand the need for having good mental health and have seen, you know, men struggle when they don't have it. And so part of the reason why it's been on my mind is 2 Saturdays ago, I lost a classmate of mine, someone I've known my whole entire life, from elementary school, middle school. We played sports together. We were in classes together. I knew his sister, his cousins, and I got to see this guy, and I'll call his name. His name is Zach French. I got to see him for the first time since high school at my 25-year class reunion last August. And it was the first time a lot of us got to see him. And the guy, he lived just right up the road in Round Rock, but, you know, he just wasn't around. But, you know, just the camaraderie and relationship that we all had as classmates growing up, it was like we never missed a beat. We enjoyed every moment that we had with him. Little did a lot of us know that'd be the last time we would see Zach. Unfortunately, Zach took his life. And he was going through some struggles that a lot of people weren't aware of. And, you know, that's why it's been heavy. It's somebody that I've known my whole life. And just, you know, I'm not sure all what was going on, but it was some things going on with Zach to take him to this point. And we mourn for it with his family. We grieve for them. He was a friend, he was a brother, he was an uncle, he was a father and a husband. And, you know, with that being said, men or anyone, if you're going through anything, don't be afraid to talk about it. There's somebody out there who will listen to you, someone who will be a shoulder for you. Don't think you're too tough. Don't think anyone doesn't want to hear what you have to say. You know, your burden can be laid upon someone, and I hope that you're able to find that person to lay that burden on. But Zach, you'll be forever remembered by your classmates, by your family and your friends, and you know, I'd like to read this proclamation in his honor. So, whereas mental health is an essential component of overall health and well-being affecting individuals, families, workplaces, and communities, whereas men of all ages, unique challenges related to mental health, including societal expectations and stigmas that may discourage seeking help, discussing emotional struggles, and accessing mental health resources. And whereas mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, substance use disorders, and other behavioral health concerns affect millions of men each year. And whereas men are statistically less likely to seek mental health treatment and are disproportionately impacted by suicide, making awareness, education, and access to support services critically important. And whereas promoting open conversations about mental health can reduce stigma, encourage early intervention, and foster a culture where individuals feel supported and seeking assistance when needed. And whereas families, employers, healthcare providers, educators, community organizations, and government entities all play important roles in supporting mental wellness and connecting individuals with resources that promote resilience, recovery, and hope. And whereas Men's Mental Health Awareness Month provides an opportunity to increase understanding, encourage meaningful dialogue, and promote resources that support the mental and emotional well-being of men and boys throughout our community. Now therefore, I, Ishmael Harris, Mayor of the City of Bastrop, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2026 as Men's Mental Health Awareness Month in the City of Bastrop, and encourage all residents, healthcare providers, businesses, community organizations, and public agencies to support efforts to raise awareness of men's mental health, reduce stigma surrounding mental illness, promote access to mental health resources, and encourage men and boys to prioritize their mental, emotional, and overall well-being. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the City of Bastrop, Texas, to be affixed on this 9th day of June 2026. And we don't have anyone here to come and take the picture, but just wanted to do this proclamation. So. And again, if there's anybody out there, man or woman, young or old, if you're struggling and having any issues, if you can't call anybody else, you can call Ishmael Harris and I will talk to you, all right? So, thank you. All right, on to our work sessions and briefings. We don't have anything in our staff and board reports, so now we're on to citizen comments. Do we have any more additional comments that have been added? No, sir. Okay. All right, I'll read through the ones that have been submitted who do not wish to speak, and then we'll go through those who wish to speak. And some of you, I have your papers up here. You do have the agenda item that's on here. If you wish to speak on that agenda item, during the agenda item, please let me know when I call your name. I know sometimes people will put down the agenda item, but they want to talk about it in citizen comments. So, up first, I have Lindy Larson. She does not wish to speak. She would like to record her support for agenda item 9D. Lindy Larson does not wish to speak, but she would like to record her support for agenda item 9A, ordinance number 2026-17. Lindy Larson does not wish to speak, but she would like to record her support for agenda item 8C, amending rules and procedures on citizen comments. Lindy Larson does not wish to speak, but she would like to record her support and hoping that the city would be more proactive in parking spaces, including ADA parking. Cheryl Long does not wish to speak, but she would like to record her support and for agenda item 9D, supporting the ordinance and adopting restrictions. Barbara Ronco-Coy does not wish to speak, but she would like to record her support on agenda item 9D, and she supports the police chief in agenda item 9D. Rebecca Schaefer does not wish to speak, but she would like to record her support for agenda item 9D on the restrictions. Rosa O'Connor does not wish to speak, but she would like to record her support on agenda item 9D on the restrictions. Cheryl Long does not wish to speak, but she would like to record her support for agenda 9A concerning a neighborhood code color. All right. Thank you to those who submitted the online comments. So now we are on to our citizen comments. Up first, as always, Rita Ward. You get to set the tone.
Good evening. I wanted to say that everybody that missed the Lives That Matter or Unsung Heroes, that was absolutely awe-inspiring. And it made me think of the way we're raising our children now. And mothers and daddies both have to work. And so consequently, they don't have time to do like they did a long time ago. And this guy says, well, you know, my mother, she drugged me. She drugged me to Sunday school. She drugged me to church. She drugged me to BMP. And I'm glad my mother drugged me. And so, with everybody working like they are, they don't have the time now to take their children to Sunday school and church, so they are losing out on a lot right now. But anyway, that's not really what I wanted to talk about. But anyway, I am really concerned about the data centers. And I don't know that y'all can do anything. I know that the county commissioners in a lot of different places now are putting a hold on those. You know, hey, let's wait a while. Let's look at this. Let's investigate. And with our water use, and as which we don't have any water, and we really need to think about that, and the pollution, and our electric bills will go up. And if they use the fans, you know, to cool it, that's going to take a whole bunch of electricity, and our electricity is using water. So we really need to step back and see what can be done to slow down our data processing plants. And also, I resent the fact that my taxpayer will be giving them money to come in here. If they want to come, they can come and pay their own bills. That's the way I look at it. Anyway, thank you very much, and y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Rita. You have a good one, too. Jimmy, are you want to speak in citizen comments or a specific agenda? Okay, up next we have Jimmy Crouch.
Thank you, Mayor. Jimmy Crouch, 605 Buttonwood Street, Bastrop, Texas. I'm here tonight on behalf of the ownership for the Marriott Hotel, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for the use of the right-of-way easement that the city let us use. Thank you, City Manager, Council, and Mayor for providing the agreement to utilize the city right-of-way on Martin Luther King for the detention pond construction activities on the new Marriott Hotel. The pond construction would have been a nightmare without the access to this property. I wanted to thank the Planning and Development Department, Doc and his entire crew, the engineers, street departments, parks department with Jason for the help in determining which trees to keep over there, because there was a lot. The city got some much needed drainage assistance for the houses downstream, a cleaned up lot with a now park-like setting, and a developer got to use the land temporarily for the construction of their detention pond. The lot is now usable, looks great, and it is a better piece of property for the residences and the businesses next door. This was a good example of great teamwork between the city and a developer that had a positive outcome for both parties, and the work did not cost the city or taxpayers a penny, other than Doc and Sylvia and the attorney's time to write all the agreements up. But thank you very much. It was Doc and his team are setting a great example for the development that is happening here. So thank you very much for that, and owners of the Marriott, the new Marriott, are very thankful. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate it. Okay, so the next three that I have are signed up for citizen comments. Each one of them are speaking on agenda item 9D. Are y'all want to speak during citizen comments or when the agenda item comes up? Pam? Okay, all right. That is it for citizen comments. Thank you all. Now we're on to consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be a separate discussion on these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Council, do we have any consent agenda items that we would like to pull?
8D, please, Mayor.
And 8C.
All right. Any other? All right. Agenda item 8C, consent agenda 8C. Consider an act to approve a resolution number R-2026-89, amending the rules and procedure and policies, section 4.7, citizen comment, to require speakers addressing the city council to provide their name, address, and whether they reside within or outside the city limits, and establishing an effective date. Michael?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Michael Mascarello, City Secretary. I'm just going to read from my notes for the sake of brevity, so I apologize. But what staff is asking is for an amendment to Section 4.07 of City Council Rules and Procedures that requires citizens speaking during citizen comment or on an agenda item to provide their name, physical address, and the amendment would be to indicate whether they reside within or outside the city limits of Bastrop. This amendment is intended to enhance transparency and provide additional context regarding community representation while preserving the public's opportunity to address City Council.
All right. Councilmember Fossler.
Thank you. I think this is a great idea. So thank you, Michael, for bringing this forward to include in citizen comments whether the speaker resides inside the city limits or outside the city limits. That would be very helpful for us. I've also heard hesitation from some citizens in stating their address on a public video that's broadcast far and wide, so they don't speak in this forum. But that these people have also mentioned that they would be comfortable saying their name and neighborhood on the mic, but putting their address in the record on their actual comment card. So maybe that could be something to discuss here. But whatever happens with that topic, I'd like to actually pull this item and bring it back in the next month, because I reviewed the rest of the 53 pages of our rules and procedures, which is awesome. And I found a few other areas that need updating just due to recent legislative changes, a few like our posting timelines, some forms that we linked to, and then some, I think legal needs to review one of the section on prohibitions that I'm not sure if it applies still. And because this isn't time sensitive for action tonight, I would like to prefer to bring back the entire document updated for possible action next month, please.
Councilmember Meyer.
Thank you, Mayor. And this is actually a question for, I believe, our city manager. So in the past, when we've made a motion, we've included things to state with the motion. We would include anything grammatical, anything that is not substantive to be in the motion. I don't really know if there's anything in the rules of procedure that are of substance that we would need to delay this vote on. I think in a motion, we could include that with the motion and make sure publications are updated, whatever's in there, but I just don't really, I don't see, is there a need to do that, or can we do that with a motion?
So I sent Councilmember Fossler's amendments to the city attorney, and most of which, there's some grammatical things. There are pointers to annual updates to TML. I think we could do one of two things. One, bring it back, or two, aggregate those changes that give staff the ability to do that. And it comes back for a second reading at the next council meeting. So, Charlie, did you have any concerns that any of those were substantive? Me either.
Sorry, you saying we can make a motion, or council can make a
With the
motion?
amendments, yes, that Councilmember Foster would like to make to the rules, and that train always happens. To the amendments that she would like to make can be as part of an amendment on the floor with this motion.
Councilmember Fossler, are you able to do that?
I can bring them up on the screen if that would be helpful.
Sure.
Okay. Colin,
Are
stand
there a
by.
small enough number of
13, huh?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland?
Is there a small enough number of them? I guess,
We can sort out the grammatical ones
Yeah.
from substance.
Yeah, there's like 13 of them.
you said there's 13
13.
changes? Okay.
For this one ordinance? Or
It's
resolution?
in the rules of procedure. It's the 53-page document. Some of them, I would say more than 50% are very, very minor. The other one has to do with posting timelines as part of the legislative change. The other one has to do with the year of the TML publication, which we update. So let me bring
It's
that
really
up.
just the prohibitions for citizen comments,
Yes,
right?
the one
button.
question that we sent to legal, there was a question as to, there's a citizen comment that says, or in the rules, it says we cannot, residents cannot disparage. Let me pull up the exact language.
So therefore, we really don't need to state this doesn't have a period, this doesn't have a comma, blah, blah, blah. We can just say grammatical, typographical errors, and also include updates to the publications and rules, right, in the motion, and that would cover it all. Am I right?
Correct. So the topic that's probably the substantive or the most substantive is it's the item that reads, proper respect, decorum, and conduct shall prevail at all times. Impertinent, slanderous, or personal attacks are strictly prohibited, and violators may be removed from the council chambers. She wanted Charlie to weigh in on that particular comment.
Yeah, because we had just modified our citizen comment section on the agenda to be a little more lax, if you will. So I figured that section needed to be updated too.
Can you talk into your mic for us, please? Thank you.
It's not on.
It's not on.
Apologies. That's pretty easy to update. It could read instead, actual language reads proper, so the language would read, proper respect, decorum, and conduct shall prevail at all times. Violators may be removed from the council chambers. And then use appropriate judgment with boots on the ground at the time to determine whether or not their conduct violates that statement.
Councilmember Foster, the exact verbiage that we put in citizen comments says profanity, physical, or other threats are not allowed and may subject the speaker to loss of time for comment, and if disruptive to the conduct of business, could result in removal of the speaker. That's what we have in the actual agenda. So it could mirror that.
It could mirror that, right.
That's exactly what we thought. So
Okay.
when I say not substantive in nature, we already had wording that he had
Right.
approved.
Right. Okay, I'm fine with that. I don't think any other, I mean, the only other policy thing was be like, would you guys be, have you heard that? Have you heard from people that they're hesitant to say their address on there? And would you guys be okay
No,
with neighbor?
I have not
You
heard
haven't
from
that?
people, no. And I mean, like, that's pretty much been the standard for as long as I've been coming to the meetings is state your name and your address,
Yeah, it's been the standard for me too. I've just,
right? So, I mean, I'm not understanding what the difference is if we're asking just a
that
little bit
people are
more.
fine putting their name and address on the speaker card, but when they come to the mic, some speakers have pulled me aside and said, I don't want to speak because I don't want to put my name, like my address out on YouTube.
I get that,
So,
but that's
like,
been
neighborhood on the
that's been
mic.
our standard, right?
I understand. I'm
So-
telling you what I'm hearing.
I think maybe if we want to split the baby, people can state their street. I mean,
Sure.
in other cities, they state their street and what district they live in. We don't have districts, so, I mean, somebody could say Jimmy Crouch, Buttonwood.
Right. And I mean, I totally get people not wanting to get their specifics, and like, we haven't been a stickler as
Right.
far as giving me the corner, right? But we would like to know where you reside to an extent. So,
Yeah, I'm good with name and street.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yeah, and the other thing I just want to say, I appreciate this being added because even though probably in downtown and most of the town, I probably do know what that street is because I've lived here for many years. But with the new subdivisions coming in, and I have no idea where Cardinal and Rooster and whatever Buzzard is, I don't know where that is. So I really appreciate, just for the context and transparency, that to be added in. So I think we can make the motion with the inclusions for the second reading and address this tonight.
Colin, you have the items in front of you. The other, I mean, I think it would be important in the motion to say that we keep up with the annual TML changes, because you don't have rules of procedure changes every single year. Sometimes we just gloss them over, but there is reference to a TML document in there. So it's something as simple as saying it's administrative in nature and the staff can bring it up.
Is there anything from the recent-ish mayor's, restoration of mayor's powers that needs to be updated? Is that,
No, not in that. So, so there's things in here like the pin, there's some missing commas, scroll down,
yeah,
Colin.
I was just trying to
Yeah,
get it.
that's
Right.
just stuff. Scroll all the way down, that's all of that. So right there is where we get, right there, number 8, that's the one we just addressed. It would mimic exactly what is on the council packet right now, right at the top section. And number 4 is the one that we're talking about, name, and whether we say street or complete address, name, whatever, blank, and then inside or outside city limits. I think those are the 2 things to discuss tonight. And then if you go further, it's the reference to the TML documents and see right there, page 22, key TML document. We just need to make sure that we keep the addition up. So not super substantive. I think staff can clean these up. If the council is okay with the motion saying it will mimic what's on the council agenda, we can bring back that version.
Make that, okay.
Councilmember Foster? Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland?
Sorry, that was me. Charlie, question for you. This is a TOMA question. So The agenda item specifically stated that we were going to amend the rules of procedure to require speakers addressing the city council to provide their name, address, and whether they reside within or outside the city limits. And now we're talking about making changes that are in addition to that. And so I'm stuck on, is it allowed to make the other changes, given that we didn't notice?
I think that gives enough notice to the public that about what's going to be discussed.
Right.
Specificity of what may or may not be changed isn't necessary.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. Okay, so that was the first question. Then the second point, I guess, is that this is a resolution. There is no second reading.
Oh, good point, sorry.
Right, and so we would just be passing it tonight. And I really do, especially for rules of procedure, I care about them deeply, and I would like to see the changes before we approve them. So since we've already talked about bringing them back next week or at the next meeting, let's just do that and see them in their final form in that document. That would be my preference. I mean, I wouldn't vote against passing it, but at the same time, I would prefer to see them, and that's my input.
All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Council, we have any other discussion? Councilmember Foster, do you have a motion?
I motion to table item 8C.
And bring back?
June 25th?
June 25th?
23rd, sorry.
23rd.
And bring back June 23rd.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that passes unanimous. Consent agenda 8D, consider an act to approve resolution number R-2026-93, appointing Mayor Pro Tem John Kirkland as the City of Bastrop representative of the State of Highway 71 Readdressing Advisory Committee and establishing an effective date. Michael.
Okay, again, I'll stick to my notes. So what we're asking is for the city council to appoint a city council member or designee to serve on the State Highway 71 Addressing and Readdressing Advisory Committee established by Bastrop County. The committee provides a forum for coordination among jurisdictions regarding addressing and readdressing matters along the State Highway 71 corridor, including public safety response, 911 location accuracy, mapping systems, addressing standards, and related administrative processes. This appointment will ensure city representation in discussions affecting regional addressing consistency and intergovernmental cooperation.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. So the reason why I pulled this one, Council, is because, well, first of all, I'm willing to serve if you'll have me, so I'll just say that. But assuming that you'll have me, this one is going to require that I represent the interests of this body before this, whatever it's called, commission or committee. And I just kind of wanted to see what direction you would give me in that regard. And so, for instance, if you want me to just go be me and, dig in and look at the details and,
Madam City Manager. Madam City Manager.
Well, staff originally weighed in.
Right.
And as many of you are well aware who've ever moved and had to change credit cards and addresses and things like that, it is an onerous task. If you have a mortgage on an existing building, the bank doesn't necessarily understand that your address change is the same building, and so it is a big of a rigmarole. What the local staff, our GIS team, is we recommended less than a double-digit number of addresses changed that could still match within the corridor. That was promptly turned down because although we are the county seat, we don't necessarily have representation at this particular committee. I completely understand why the EMS wants an address from county to county line. However, there are other markers in the city that can designate where we are. College Street is a prime example. It is now the access road to Highway 71. I think there are much more prudent ways to do it, and I would really encourage you to sit with our GIS staff on the solution that we originally derived before we got here.
Okay, so thank you. I wasn't aware of most of that. And so, council, I would have just stream of consciousness suggested an entirely different direction. And not because I believe differently than what Sylvia just proposed, but because I didn't know. So I think then that if you were to, for instance, direct me to go sit with the GIS department, understand the staff's position, and then represent it before this body, I'm happy to do that.
Can we table this, John, until, do you need direction for us to tell you to go sit with GIS? So you do need that, Sylvia? Okay, that's fine then. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, so I need direction in order to represent this body's interests in front of another governmental body. And so in that capacity, that's why I'm asking.
Government body be in the GIS?
No, it's the county.
The county.
Oh, with the county, I got you.
It's the county.
Okay.
I think what's important and substantive of the question is the city in favor of a complete readdressing from city limit to city limit line, essentially, of Highway 71, affecting many more businesses than the double digit we had proposed, or should we try to find an amicable solution? That's really the crux of the question.
So
you need to be appointed because they're going to meet. And,
Right,
and I
real
think you
soon.
need to hear both sides. You've heard our side. You probably need to hear their side. But it really would be good for you to bring a report immediately after the meeting so the council can go, yep, no, we agree, John. It should go in that direction.
Okay, and I think that's very reasonable. If that's what you want me to do, then I will do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
But we can, but in order to be directed to do that, we have to have it on an agenda in an open meeting and have a motion and a second and pass it. So that's why I'm bringing it up. That's why we're talking about it.
So, but we can move forward with some direction tonight, correct? After your appointment?
Absolutely. Well, yes, we can absolutely. move
Okay,
forward.
so let's try to get something, right, because they're meeting soon, and it would be good to be able to gather that information, and if we need to put it on an agenda for the next meeting, then we'll be able to have that agenda, and then you'll be able to properly discuss it up here,
Right.
and we can go through the rest of the motions.
And I think that's reasonable. Yes.
Councilmember Plunkett?
So do you think you need an amendment to this resolution, or can we just pass this and then you can come back and tell us?
I think that we can pass this and I can come back and tell you. Yeah.
I think we can pass it in on the next reasonable agenda. After he's had a meeting, we'll put it on with an expectation for a
Okay.
full report.
Yeah, I like that. Councilmember Meyer, did you have anything? Are you good? Okay.
Thank you, Council.
Councilmember Fossler, are you sure you don't have anything? Your light was going off and on.
Go forth and be amicable, is all I'm saying. Go forth and be amicable.
Okay.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Fant-
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you, council. Does anyone have any other thing they want to pull, or can we get a motion for consent agenda items 8A, 8B, and 8E?
Motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda, 8A, 8B, and 8E.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, passes unanimous. Thank you, council. All right, on to agenda item 9, and items for individual consideration. 9A, conduct a public hearing, consider and act on ordinance number 2026-17, a city-initiated zoning map amendment as shown in Exhibit A to rezone a portion of the block properties located northeast of Fayette Street and Farm Street within the city limits of Bastrop, Texas, from PI, public and institutional, to SF1, single-family low density, for the following properties: PID numbers 32234, 32243, 3279, 32333, 32288, 32324, 32315, 8736625, 49236, 32306, 32261, 32297, 32270, 53104, 36833, and 32342, and move to include on the June 23rd, 2026 City Council meeting for the second reading. Hello, Ms. Brittany.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. All right, as you all know, on April 14th, the City Council adopted the new Bastrop Development Code and the associated official new zoning map. The map conversion had used a crosswalk approach to transition the former B3 place type map to the new zoning districts within the new Bastrop Development Code, as shown in the chart here. So everything that was place type P3 neighborhood prior was intended to transition to single family low density. This is essentially just correcting a mapping error. The affected properties, which are 16 properties on Farm and Fayette Street, were previously designated as P3 neighborhood under the B3 code. However, the adopted map inadvertently zoned these properties to PI, or public and institutional. So essentially, staff is just requesting approval to correct the official zoning map by rezoning the affected 16 properties from public institutional to single family once again. Since the map was officially adopted, we did have to go through the rezoning process again, and public notice was provided to property owners and everybody within 200 feet. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Council, do we have any questions for Brittany? No? All right. 7:36, and I'm opening up the public hearing. Do we have anyone that has submitted any statements or comments? No, sir. All right. We have anyone out here last minute? No? All right. I'm going to close the public hearing. Council, do we have any further discussion about this agenda item? Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show that 9A passes unanimous. Thank you, Brittany. Don't go anywhere. 9B, conduct a public hearing. Consider an act on the ordinance number 2026-18, a city-initiated zoning map amendment as shown in Exhibit A for 2 City of Bastrop properties located on Grady Tuck Lane and south of Old Austin Highway within the city limits of Bastrop, Texas. The request is to rezone the properties identified as PID 66319 and PID 35527 from PI, public institutional, to P/OS, parks and open space. I couldn't just say, yeah. And move to include on the June 23rd, 2026 City Council meeting for the second reading. All right, Ms. Brittany.
That is an unfortunate abbreviation. So this is another city-initiated rezoning request for 2 City of Bastrop owned properties on Grady Tuck Lane, south of Old Austin Highway. This request is to rezone those properties from public and institutional to parks and open space, which is now our new zoning district that's dedicated for city-owned parks and floodplain and other natural open space. The reason for this rezoning request goes back to the last couple of Parks and Recreation Board meetings where the board identified these parcels as an opportunity to support trail connectivity, address parkland service gaps, and provide additional open space for nearby residents. So the board did recommend dedication of these 2 parcels as parkland. Our Parks and Rec Director is also here if you have any questions on this from him.
Council, we have any questions for Brittany? All right. All right, 7:38, and I'm opening up the public hearing. Do we have anyone? Michael or Madam City Manager, did Michael report anything? We have anyone, Michael, for this public hearing? Okay. All right. Well, we don't have anyone. We're going to close the public hearing. Council, do we have any further discussion Councilmember Plunkett.
Well, since we just talked a little earlier about the need for parking over at PD, and I know that once we do create parkland, it is very difficult. It doesn't just go back the same way it went in. So, do we need any of that for the parking lot with the PD?
The PD parking lot will serve a dual purpose to the Hart Park that's supposed to be developed in that area also. So parking is included in park land, but it would be nice if that's included in your motion for perpetuity, because we all go away and somebody will yell, that's supposed to be a park.
A parking park. And in England, they call them car parks. Well, I'd be happy to move to approve 9B with the understanding that, that we'll also look at parking at the same time, both for the park and for the PD.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it passes unanimous. Thank you, Brittany. All right, on to agenda item 9C. Consider action to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2026-16, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, titled Traffic and Vehicle, Article 12.06.009, titled No Parking on Certain Streets, amended to read as described and attached hereto as Exhibit A, implemented by the Streets and Drainage Department. Chief Stefanik.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. This ordinance amendment is requested for Cedar Street from Linda Street to State Highway 95 to establish a no parking, no stopping, no standing, and towaway enforcement zone. And I had the pink area up on this Google map, kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about. And just for so you can see better, that's the drone footage for that area. This area is located just outside the high school zone and directly adjacent to State Highway 95. Significant traffic congestion occurs in this corridor due to ongoing construction, traffic volumes, and school drop-off and pickup activities. Establishing this enforcement zone will help improve traffic flow and reduce unnecessary vehicle backups in the area. In addition, for this area, because it's adjacent to State Highway 95, there are some, or not just because, but in addition to it being located next to State Highway 95, there are some state laws that we can enforce for the parking here. So you can't park within 30 feet of State Highway 95, so that's an automatic state law violation if you do. And then the transportation code states that you can't stop, stand, or park in an area where you're going to obstruct traffic to begin with, and traffic can't pass. So what this would do is just basically help inform the public, and we'd be able to put signs up that states, hey, there is no parking in this area. Any questions?
Councilmember Meyer?
Thank you. I went off and on back on my life.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for bringing this up. This is so important to have done. I know I go in the area a lot, and I know the people live around that area, and if you don't know that it would be a problem to not have this, then you don't go in that area. So thank you, Chief, for putting this in and bringing this to our attention.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
I assume the answer to this by reading between the lines, but you said you can't park within 30 feet of SH 95, but you also cannot park on SH 95, is that correct?
Correct, because it's a state highway.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Plunkett?
Yeah, I mean, this is a no-brainer to me too, but I just want to point out, didn't we several months ago approve a food truck court over there? And I gather that could be part of the reason we're doing this, but are they going to have adequate parking, I guess is my...
Prior to the B3, prior to this, there was no parking required. So
they're just out of luck if...
No, they're in the process. They're going to be...
No, I mean, they're out of luck in terms of,
parking space?
You're right, customers aren't going to be able to park there and therefore may not be able to use the establishments as
Well, you
intended.
know, the B3 meant a walkable community,
Oh,
so
yeah.
they have to walk to the.
That's a pretty,
Well,
that's a pretty
they'll
walkable
have to park
intersection,
at
isn't
the
it?
pack or something.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll have to park at the pack and walk down the street.
Well, and the other super important thing to remember about this parcel is a good portion of this parcel is underwater.
Right,
Right, yeah, coming off like 100 feet off of Gills Branch.
sure. Okay, just wanted to make sure. I knew that.
Councilmember Lowe?
Yes. Once this is, reached the second reading, is there a public outreach plan or something that we can?
Usually from the police department's perspective, usually what we do is, we always give a 30-day grace period anytime anything new goes up. In this case, if there's a sign there, with any luck, you wouldn't park there in the first place. However, it's not always the case, but typically we would just notify the owner and say, hey, come move your car, and give a grace period.
And I'm sure that there'll be a little bit more patrol, just ensuring that people aren't parking there.
We need to work on that area on Cedar Street anyways, so yes, there will be more patrols.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like summertime, it's probably all right, but I know that picture was taken during the school year. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, so. Okay, all right. Councilmember Fossler?
Thank you. I don't recall their site plan. There's no parking, there's no on-site parking for the food court.
I believe they had 3 or 4 top parking spaces at the site plan that I remember, which has been more than a year. So
been a
I would
while,
have to
yeah.
ask development staff.
I remember their beautiful tree. There's a gorgeous tree on that lot.
Yeah,
I
right
don't
there in the
remember
middle.
that. Yeah, that's nice.
If it's a native, then
Thanks, Doc.
I would say so.
Again, Mayor, Council, as Sylvia touched on, this was part of the B3 code and kind of prior to staff. We will reach out to the developer to address this situation because the issue is, again, is really if there may be 2 or 3, but basically there's spaces for the RVs themselves, not with the food trailers themselves. And again, with this ordinance, there's no parking on site, so it's truly how we operate a business without no parking, and that includes the employees. If you got 3 or 4 trailers, where will you park the employees? So, so before they go too much further, we're going to address the concerns with them.
Good, it's good to hear.
Are they aware this is on the agenda tonight, I wonder? Do you know the Zavadnis?
I assume not. But again, we knew this was a traffic issue, and as Vicki said, we worked together on this. You drone this, you really see how bad it is. They cut through other streets. It's pretty, and as the schools get open and grow in population, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, I live right down the road from there, and yeah, you can't park there.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
see
it
that.
ought to be obvious, but.
Well, we've been working with the applicant for some time. Again, this is a very, very, very difficult parcel to even begin to try to develop. And really, because of its proximity to the floodplain, you need things that are able to be moved out. And so for not a food trailer, a mobile home trailer, or a mobile home food truck, what isn't addressed in the floodplain ordinance is sometimes the river rises so fast, you don't have the ability to move those things out as quickly as you need to. And while the FEMA floodplain ordinance allows those type of mobile structures to be moved, and actually that's the only thing that's allowed in those, it really is something that we need to think about as a community. Because the issue with the flooding is not just the floodwater, but the debris that it brings that causes such havoc to everybody downstream.
Councilmember Lowe, you still, are you good? You good? Okay, Councilmember Fossler?
I'm not all the way good. I mean, I understand the safety concerns. I'm also not one to just kill a business before it ever begins. Are there actively in site design talks with development services now? Like, is this an active conversation where they're like, y'all are talking solutions?
Again, as Sylvia touched on, the problem is this permit's been issued, approved, and based on the B3 code, we could enforce parking requirements.
Okay.
So that's, again, we're going to try to circle back on before they go any farther is how will you operate this business? There's a reality to
Right.
it.
Okay.
And y'all have had these conversations with them for quite a while, right?
Yes.
Right, yeah, this is not a new conversation for them.
Okay.
No, and I'm hopeful that we're going to get to a point where we don't have to say this was approved under the B3.
Right.
Soon.
Okay. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Chief. Council, do we have any other comments, statements, anything, concerns? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it passes unanimous. Thank you, Chief. All right, on to agenda item 9D.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Oh, hold on, I have to read it first.
Read it.
I have to read it. Consider an act to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2026-1, adopting certain restrictions on employment related to registered sex offenders to include limiting where registered sex offenders can be employed, such as within specified distance of premises where children commonly gather, as attached in Exhibit A, and move to include on the June 23rd, 2026 consent agenda for the second reading. Okay, Chief Stefanik.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm requesting an amendment to our current sex offender ordinance to include restrictions on certain registered sex offenders being employed within a specified distance of locations where children commonly gather, provided the criteria set forth in the proposed amendment are met. The proposed amendment is narrowly tailored and applies only to a limited subset of registered sex offenders, individuals that are classified as risk level 2, which is moderate, and risk level 3, which is high, whose offense involved a minor victim. Under the proposal, covered offenders would be prohibited from employment within 1,000 feet of premises where children commonly gather. The amendment would also include a grandfather clause for any covered sex offender who, on the effective date of the ordinance, is already employed at a qualifying business and remains continuously employed there. Such individuals would not be affected by the ordinance, provided that they remain in compliance with all registration requirements. Employers would not be subject to penalties or other repercussions for violations committed by the covered sex offender under this ordinance. Additionally, the proposed amendment incorporates a hardship exemption process to allow for consideration of unique circumstances on a case-by-case basis. Any questions?
Councilmember Meyer.
Thank you. So on the grandfathering, this might be a question for Charlie too. And also I just want to thank Charlie for drafting this perfectly, following our directive and perfect draft of this. But on the grandfathering, so who is in compliance? A person or people, because we're talking about a group of people that are in compliance, can be grandfathered. Would there be anything that would, if they have been off and on in compliance over years, does that affect it? Or is just of the date that we adopt this, if they're in compliance at that date?
I have to find the grandfather provision in here so that I'm, what line number is that? So
The grandfather portion.
And Charlie, can you,
I just turned it on.
yeah,
so
yeah, there you go. That'll
All
help.
right, there we go. It keeps falling down. What line is it at, Chief?
It is, let me see. Amendment penalty. Covered. I'll
Here it
skip
is.
over it like 8 times looking at
I
it.
think I found it. All right, I found it. So what it states is that that the subsection D does not apply to a covered sex offender, which is defined by the ordinance. On the effective date of the ordinance adopting this subsection was employed at the place of business in question and has thereafter remained continuously so employed, and provided further that the sex offender was on the effective date of the ordinance adopting. So the first answer, first question to your answer is, if they're employed and have been continuously employed at their place of employment upon adoption of this ordinance, they would be grandfathered. There is an exception to that in here, but I think that's the answer to your question.
Okay. So whatever, when this is adopted, if they are in compliance, then they are grandfathered. Compliance history does not matter, right?
So there's the exception to that is if somebody was employed at their place of employment at the adoption of this ordinance. and they would otherwise be prohibited from being employed there, and they are continuously employed. And they were not in full compliance on the effective date of the ordinance or any time thereafter. By having been charged with a violation of any such requirement when the charge has not been dismissed or otherwise finally resolved in the sex offender's favor. So in other words, at the time of the adoption of the ordinance, they've been charged with a violation, right? That has not been dismissed or otherwise finally resolved in their favor, or has been the subject of a finding by the Texas Department of Public Safety or any other registration authority that the covered sex offender has failed to satisfy the requirement, or is subject to an unexecuted warrant or capias relating to such requirement. So if they fall anywhere in that exception, then they would not be grandfathered.
Thank you, Charlie. I just wanted to hear it from you.
Councilmember Plunkett.
Yeah, I had another question too, but I'm thinking it might be better to ask it in executive, and I hate doing that. So, I mean, I'm okay with waiting until, later we do the rest of the executive. We can come back and do this one too, but I had a question that probably for attorney-client reasons, probably shouldn't ask it.
Councilmember Meyer.
Thank you. So I'm kind of, I'm not real clear, Kevin, because we've had 2 executive sessions on this topic, and out of the last one, we gave directions to the attorney to draft the ordinance, and that's what we're looking at. I don't understand the need. We have covered this in 2 executive sessions, so I don't understand why we would have to go behind closed doors and not in front of the people and discuss this.
Because I don't remember it being what I see some differences in what I thought we talked about, and so I just wanted to clear that up.
Well, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, if there's substantive differences, that would need to be discussed in open session. If there's a legal issue that we didn't discuss, we can go do it. But if it's a substantive difference between what was discussed, but you have a legal question about that.
It's a legal question.
Okay, what's the substantive issue? We can talk about that, and we have to talk about that in open session.
Okay. Well, the substantive question is there are some provisions in there that I was concerned about could potentially create some liability. Okay. And I just wanted to ask about
all right.
those.
Yes, sir.
And
All right, well, before we even move forward, we have 3 people who are signed up for comments on this. So, up first, we have Pamela Veer. Can you wait? Sure. All right, up next, we have David Chambers. Please state your name and your location, please, sir. You'll have 3 minutes, and I'll give you a signal when you got 30 seconds left.
Thank you. Dr. David Chambers, 1308 Fayette Street, inside the city limits of Bastrop. Good evening, City Council. At the last meeting, I explained that this ordinance is rooted in fear. The revised version does not address that concern. Instead, it amplifies it. The ordinance now contains 5 pages of recitals, many of which are inaccurate, unrelated to the ordinance itself, or based on claims that have been disproven. For example, Section B cites Justice Kennedy's statement from McCoon versus Lyle regarding sex offender recidivism rates. That statement has been heavily criticized by legal scholars and is inconsistent with more recent data from the Bureau of Justice Statistics. That's the federal government. The ordinance also claims that the ordinance is non-punitive. However, the Sixth Circuit stated that in an ordinance or law shares characteristics with banishment and public shaming and resembles parole and probation, then it is more likely punitive. The court even described the resulting exclusion zones as a form of modern-day banishment. I encourage you to compare the exclusion zones map discussed in the Snyder case with the exclusion zones proposed by Bastrop. And I have maps of both here. I will share with you. The United States Supreme Court has likewise recognized that occupational exclusions can be punishment. In Cummings v. Missouri, the court stated that disqualification from a lawful vocation may also and often has been imposed as punishment. Similar principles appear in Ex parte Garland, U.S. versus Levitt, and U.S. versus Brown. The ordinance before you restricts where people may live, work, and be present in the community. Calling those restrictions non-punitive does not change their practical effect. If a measure functions as punishment, constitutional protections apply, including the prohibition against ex post facto laws. The 5th and 14th Amendment prohibit the government from depriving a person of liberty or property without due process of the law. In Bell v. Wolfish, the Supreme Court stated that a person may not be punished before adjudication of guilt. Under Kennedy v. Mendoza-Martinez, if a sanction has historically been regarded as punishment, that weighs heavily in the factor of finding it punitive. If the Supreme Court has repeatedly recognized that exclusions as punishment, how can the city prohibit employment, especially when the person is merely charged with an offense? Finally, this ordinance grants the chief of police sole authority to approve or deny exceptions. Throughout the Bastrop Code of Ordinances, significant decisions are subject to review and appeal. If the city denies a permit to remove a tree, there's 3 people you can appeal it to. If a decision is made regarding an animal control matter, there's an appeal process. Yet when the city seeks to restrict where someone may live or work, one individual holds a final authority with no meaningful oversight. That is neither transparent nor accountable government. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for your statement. Do you have multiple copies, or this was just solely for me?
I'm sorry, I only had 2.
Okay.
I can provide more later.
Thank you. All right, up next, we have Megan Webb.
My name's Megan Webb. I'm the CEO of the Children's Advocacy Center.
You have 3 minutes, and I'll let you know.
Which operates at 59 Texas Loop 150 West within the city limits of Bastrop. Before I talk about this, Mayor Harris, I did want to say that I appreciate your comments on mental health, and I think it takes a lot of strength to be authentic and transparent and vulnerable in that way, and I appreciate you for that. I also appreciate the council indulging me, because this is the 3rd time you've had to see my face on this issue. My sincere hope is that after tonight's vote, you'll get a well-deserved break from hearing from me for a little bit. I'm sure my husband would like a home-cooked meal every other Tuesday. So I want to take a moment to express my appreciation for the thoughtful and measured approach that you guys have taken with this issue. This proposed amendment to the city ordinance addressing places of employment for registered sex offenders. I know that these conversations aren't easy, and I genuinely appreciate the care that's clearly gone into tailoring this ordinance to address the heart of the issue, which comes down to balancing the protection of vulnerable populations, particularly children and at-risk individuals, while also respecting the importance of allowing people the opportunity to be gainfully employed and to reintegrate into society. I think too often these discussions become framed as an all or nothing debate, and in reality, good public policy requires nuance and balance and careful consideration of all the competing interests. So I know this isn't an easy decision for you guys to make, but I do think that the approach that's being utilized with this version of the ordinance does reflect that balance. And I especially want to thank the mayor, the members of council, the chief, and the city manager and other members of staff for taking the time to listen to the community concerns, consider practical implications, and work toward a solution that prioritizes public safety while also remaining measured in scope. So I appreciate your willingness to engage thoughtfully with the discussion on this issue, and I do support the proposed amendment as it's written. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Megan. Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Pam. If you can state your name and your your residency. We appreciate it.
Pamela Veer, 402 Oak Street. I live in town. The last Sits with Sylvia meeting that we had, this topic came up, and it sort of surprised me. And I'd never really thought about it too much. But one of the things that came up was after the perpetrator of the heinous crime of sexual abuse on a human being came up, and after they served their time, then they should have certain rights. And I do believe in people that are given second chances. I think second chances are very important. But what a person does with that second chance always is in question. Are they going to go back into society after being in prison and be a good person? Are they not going to do this again? Or will their second chance be to perpetrate the crime again? So I thought it was really interesting that you talked about how somebody's going to work someplace after they've gotten out of jail, prison, whatever, and how they're going to get there, and are they going to drive by a school? Are they going to be around children? And I think that that's very complicated. I mean, how do you tell somebody, oh, you can work here, you can't work here. You can drive by here, but you can't drive by here. But the one thing I just want to talk about is the people that survive sexual abuse and what their future's like. And whether it's a man, a woman, a young girl, a young boy, some of the things that they have to go through to complete their lives, whether they have to go through many, many years of therapy, whether they, how do they survive that heinous crime? And should that, I mean, you can't tell them where they're going to go or what they're going to do. But I just want everybody to think about the survivors. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Pam. I appreciate it. All right, there are no more comments on this agenda item. Council, it's been mentioned that Councilmember Plunkett would like to take some questions into executive session. I believe that we'll have to take a vote on that, Charlie, right? Or because it's not on the agenda, or are we good to include it?
Well, the body determines whether or not it goes into closed session. So you don't have to have a vote. If there's consensus to go into closed session, then that's fine. We just need to announce that it's under attorney-client privilege consultation before we go into closed session.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so is it the consensus of the council?
Can I take a motion in a second?
Yeah, I'd like to do that to make it official.
I motion we go into executive session under 551.071 to consult with the attorney on this matter.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second.
I'm sorry, I do have just discussion. Did you get a second? I'm sorry.
We did get a second, but we can have discussion.
Thank you. So I just want to clarify, because you know that's my big word, and I always do this. But I want everyone to understand why we're going into executive session. And Councilmember Plunkett did explain to us that he is concerned with legality and liability. So that is why we are going into executive session. That is all we are going to discuss, because that's all we can discuss. So I just wanted to be clear.
All right, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. It is now 8:08, and we're going to break into executive session to seek legal counsel on the matters that Councilmember Plunkett is requesting. All right, everyone, it is now 8:36. We're back from executive session, getting legal advice from counsel. All right, counsel, can we resume our discussion on agenda item 9D? Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
There we go. So I have an objection and several concerns to the ordinance as written. The first one is an objection that grandfathering should apply equally to all individuals. There's a statement that says that a covered sex offender is not in full compliance and not grandfathered if there is a pending case against them. And the reason I struggle with that is because it violates basic principles of innocent until proven guilty, number one. And number two, if someone was arrested on the exact same day as the person in question, and they pled guilty and accelerated their court process, they would be grandfathered under the way that this is written. And so, I mean, to fix this, I would propose that we basically delete the set of sentences or paragraph that starts with, for purposes of this section, a covered sex offender, and so on through the end of that definition, keeping the employment restriction in place within 1,000 feet, but allowing for this grandfathering to take place. The second one is that, and that's an objection, and I have constitutional objections. I have deep concerns about that for a number of reasons. The second one is that there is a statement in the affirmative defenses. Now, an affirmative defense is something that a person can claim in a court after they have been arrested, arrested, hired an attorney, put on trial, and then they can make an affirmative defense. And that is that they were employed somewhere, and then a location where children commonly gather opens within 1,000 feet of where they were already working. And so the ordinance as it's currently written makes that person subject to the arrest and trial portion of the violation, but then is eligible to be released in court because they have an affirmative defense. And so my request is that we move our definition for affirmative defense, not move, copy our definition of affirmative defense up into the covered person section so that they will also be grandfathered in the same way, frankly, we're intending to. I mean, it makes the thing consistent. The third item, there is a dependency in this particular law, in this particular ordinance, on the Texas risk system, which is where at the time of the termination of a registered or a sex offender's parole activities or probation activities, that they will get a risk score by the court and the counselors that are attending to them. And it's the likelihood of them committing an additional sex crime, and it's low, medium, and high. But there are people that don't have a definition. They don't have a rating. And I had to dig on what would cause that to occur. And one possibility is, well, only the state of Texas can give you that rating. And so if you committed your crime and went through probation and were released from probation completely entirely outside of the state of Texas, then you wouldn't have a rating. And so there is a a section in this ordinance that addresses that. But my concern is with the other type of person that can be, another type of person that would not have a rating, and that was if they committed their crime in Texas, and if, while committing their crime in Texas, they were released through the process, and that process finished prior to January 1st of 2000, then they would not have a designation, because that was when those designations came into effect in the state of Texas, and those designations are only assigned when you're released from your probationary activities. And so you have a class of people that have no risk assessment assigned to them, and they have not, the date of their sex crime is before January 1st, 2000, and because they don't have a risk assessment attached to them, you know that by definition they haven't committed a new sex crime, because if they had, they would have a new definition. They would be put into the system a second time and get a low, medium, or high attached to that second sex crime. So, now the point. The point is that in that particular case, a person who has not committed a sex crime in 26 years, which we're talking about the year 2000, they are, according to the criminal justice statistics, less likely to commit an additional sex crime than a criminal who has not committed a sex crime but been released from their activities.
Point of order. This, John, I think you're getting outside of the realm of expertise, because you're quoting things that we don't have an expert right now. So saying those things, I can't take that information, because I do not have an expert telling me that information. We can all read different things, and that's my point of order. Please don't state things that we do not know from an expert 100%. Please don't do that.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland, do you wish to continue, or you?
No, I do wish to continue. And so my request on this matter is that we would add into the definition where we are defining a covered sex offender, and then it says, for the purpose of this article, in the case of a sex offender to whom no numeric risk level has been assigned, the sex offender shall be treated as a covered sex offender if the offense requiring registration is a sexually violent offense as defined in the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 62.0016, classified as a sexually violent predator or predicate sex offender or a sexual predator. So this is the wording in the existing ordinance, and I would propose to address this, that this no numeric risk level provision shall not apply when the absence of a numeric risk level results solely from the offender's registration triggering event occurring before January 1st, 2000, when the Texas numeric risk level assignment was not yet required, provided the offender has not thereafter received a reportable conviction or adjudication for a sexually violent offense. And so basically, if the person has been without a sex crime for, it's the entire time since January 1st, 2000, that we would not apply this to them just because that was the reason that they didn't have a low, medium, or high numeric risk score. The next item, we kind of use two different definitions in covered sex offender. One is where the offense requiring registration involved a victim who was at the time of the offense a minor. And then later in that same paragraph, we use a definition where we describe if the offense requiring registration is a sexually violent offense as described in Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 62.0016. And I actually like the second definition better than the first one, and the reason why is because the second definition, 62.0016, it applies to all violent sex acts, regardless of whether or not it applies to a child. It absolutely applies to specific acts with children, but it also applies to every type of continuous sexual abuse of a young child or disabled individual, continuous sexual assault, indecency with a child, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, sexual performance by a child, aggravated kidnapping if the defendant committed the offense with intent to violate or abuse the victim sexually, burglary if it was intended to commit a felony, a sexual felony, or an offense under other laws of other state law or military justice that are similar. And the reason I prefer that definition is because it specifically targets violent sexual crime, but it doesn't against children, but also against adults. And so it would be a more comprehensive definition that that would really drive the public safety part of what it is that we're trying to achieve here. And then the last item is that there's no appeals process built into the existing ordinance. And I would propose, and I have some language for it that I'm not going to read because it's legally sounding, but that we provide an appeals process to the city manager or a designee of the city manager, and some process for following through with that. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland. Councilmember Meyer.
Thank you, Mayor. So, just to be clear, we have one attorney up here, and that is our city attorney, Charlie, and we have one police chief. And they both deal with this. And we have an ordinance that we ask our city attorney to draft for us, and he did. And he did exactly what we asked. I do understand the last point of the appeal process. I do understand that with the city manager, to include that. However, I would like to hear from either our attorney or our city police chief on any issues such as pending cases. Let's just talk in general, if you would, Chief. If someone has a pending case, just generally about law, can you tell us what would happen with stopped traffic violation, whatever? Just, if you could give us some information on that, I would appreciate it.
It's not 100% sure where to start. I mean, essentially, if they have a case or something happens, we make an arrest. Once we establish probable cause, we either make an on-view arrest or we get a warrant for an arrest. In the case of a sex offender, it depends on if we are making the arrest because the actual incident occurred in the city of Bastrop and we make an arrest, then once we make that arrest, we prepare the case, we present it to the DA indicts or not indicts, and then if they indict, then typically it goes to, or ideally it can go to trial or they can plea out. And at the end of that, you can either be not guilty or whatever it is that the attorneys come up with. If it is a case where we get a registered sex offender that comes into the city limits and they've already had their requirements, they're required to register for life or whatever it is, they have certain conditions on there that state they have to register and they have to be this far away from a school or whatever it is, then when they come in to register with us because they, for whatever reason, are somehow involved with us, they have to sign each individual one abiding by the rules of the state of Texas. If they neglect any of them rules or they get out of compliance, we then file for some kind of warrant, depending on what they did. We make the arrest, the person's arrested, they can bond out or they can sit in jail. And then again, it's prepared, all the evidence is prepared and sent over to the district attorney's office, who then does what they do with the indictments or moves forward with trial or dismisses it in some cases. Does that answer your question?
It does, and it explains to me that this is what you do, this is your line of work, this isn't our line of work, this isn't what we do. We don't understand all aspects of all of this. However, I do know that our city attorney that drafted this ordinance very much knows the legality and very much considers ramifications of any kind. The ramifications that I'm concerned about are if we don't do something to protect the welfare and well-being of our citizens, there is a liability there.
Yes, ma'am.
If we are negligent in this aspect and we use loopholes to try to get around a lot of things, we are not only liable, we are negligent in our duty to our citizens. So my concern is not loopholes for registered sex offenders. My concern is the greatest protection we can give our citizens, especially the most vulnerable population. So anything that we can do, I would love, and our attorney has put an ordinance before us that we ask him to do. So thank you, Chief, for that explanation.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Councilmember Meyer. Council, y'all got anything else to say before I start going on? Okay, so just a couple of things. There's been so much that I'm trying to absorb it, and I don't know if I'll spit it all back out. But one of the things that I look at as being a concern, and I'm not blaming folks or anything, but a person could easily commit an offense and continue on and not get caught committing those offenses, right? And that person can move into the vicinity, the neighborhood, and we'll never know if they never get caught. As far as victims, any act in that capacity is a violent act, regardless of, to me it all should be labeled as that because you're violating another human being. Just that alone, like the need to protect, and it's not about an individual. I think some people need to understand that we're not singling out one individual. Maybe an individual sparked some stuff, but this is something to protect the entire community from a group of individuals who don't know how to keep their hands to themselves. And so, as far as the grandfathering in, if you come in and you take care of what you need to and register, by all means, get, grandfathered in. But, if the person is sitting back waiting, to see if they're going to be found guilty or not for something they've been accused of, I'm sure there's some legal ways to where their restrictions will be removed if they're not found guilty. But if you do go out and commit certain crimes, depending on what it is, they're going to put restrictions on you, right? Like, yeah, it's great if you go ahead and say, yeah, I'm guilty. It makes the process go a little bit faster. And maybe there is some grace, right? You hear all the time, if you're honest with me, we'll cut you some slack. But, just trying to the last thing I'm trying to do is single people out, but the main important thing is to protect the residents and the other community, be it young, be it old, or anything like that. Yes, people can do things and they can change. By all means, yes, Lord, they can change. But it's not those who we're trying to protect against. We're trying to protect those who say they changed and they really haven't, because they find somebody that they convince that they're doing the right thing and then they're not. And so how we go about it, like Councilmember Meyer was saying, this is our third time discussing this. And no, it's not a matter of let's shorten the time and hurry up and push through it. But we spent quite a bit of time on this. We spent quite a bit of time last council in executive session drafting up and to what I thought was going to be an excellent thing. And here we are again. What I would like to see amongst council is us to come to an agreement tonight to move forward so that we can go to the second reading of this ordinance.
Mayor, can I just noticed as I was going through the ordinance,
Yes, sir.
line 99 and 100 somehow, I don't know if it was the PDF process or just a oversight, all of section D is a new section and should be underlined, and for some reason, lines 99 and 100 are not underlined, so just need to understand that that is newly added, and we'll make that revision if this is approved.
Okay. Councilmember Meyer?
Thank you, Mayor. And all we have to do is just put that in the motion, right, Charlie? Just that, thank you. That's simple. Thank you.
All right, council, do we have any further discussion on this agenda? Councilmember Plunkett?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to add the appeal process. I think that's only smart because you never know, everyone leaves something just to one person, no matter who, and again, it's not for the person who's sitting in that position now, it's for who might be there later. Right. And I'm also, sympathetic to the no designation one. If the crime was committed before they had designations, it seems like if we leave it the way it is, we're treating them as though they're high, when in essence it's been 26 years that at least since anything's happened. So it would seem to me like it would make sense to cover.
Well, they're already covered if they're not designated. The only covered sex offender is only someone who has a risk level of 3 or 2 or moderate, where the offense requiring registration involved a victim who was, at the time of the offense, a minor. It does not include a sex offender assigned a risk level of 1, and it only includes a sex offender with no numeric risk level, unless that individual, their offense was required being registration well, here, I'll just read it. Yeah. For purposes of this article, in the case of a sex offender to whom no numeric risk level has been assigned, the sex offender shall be treated as a covered sex offender if the offense requiring registration is a sexually violent offense, as defined in the Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 62.0066, classified as a sexually violent predator, a predicate sex offender, or a sexual predator. So if somebody has no numeric number, they are not a covered sex offender unless they fall into one of those categories.
Oh, okay. Then all right.
If they fall into those categories, then, the process happens. If they don't have a number, then nothing.
I do agree, though, with you, Councilmember Plunkett, on the appeal, that we should include, when we make a motion, for the police chief and the city manager to be included in that, as Mayor Pro Tem had suggested also.
All right, sounds like we're agreeing on the appeal. That's good.
Just for the purposes of staff and the final document, there were 5-6 issues that were raised. Sounds like grandfathering is going to stay. There was a question about an affirmative defense, meaning those things that weren't there but move in after the fact, as long as they can prove an affirmative defense. It does not sound like we're changing the definition, all acts, not just the ones for minors. And it appears we're adding police chief and city manager. Did I capture that correctly?
I believe so.
Okay.
Councilmember Fosler?
Thank you. I wanted to weigh in on the grandfathering for all. I also support the grandfathering for all, and that's a hard stop for me. I also support the copying over the affirmative offense and adding an additional layer of appeal.
All right, thank you for your input. Councilmember Plunkett?
Yeah, can I ask I don't know who the proper person to ask this question to is, but Is there a reason to put it in an affirmative defense instead of not making it not a crime to begin with?
So the reason why it's drafted that way is because the current ordinance, where is it at? I apologize. The current ordinance reads that it's an affirmative defense that the premises where children commonly gather as specified herein within 1,000 feet of the permanent or temporary residence of the sex offender was opened, established, or created after the date the sex offender has established the permanent or temporary residence and complied with all sex offender registration laws of the state. So it's currently an affirmative defense under the, and has been an affirmative defense in the ordinance since this ordinance was drafted for purposes of residency. So all I did was add the exact same language for employment. So it's been in the ordinance since the ordinance was in existence as an affirmative defense, and so that's where I put it for employment.
Okay, but is there I'm just curious, I just don't understand why you would.
I have no idea. I was not here when this is drafted.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
not part of the process. Maybe council decided, maybe the lawyer did, I don't know.
Okay.
And for the record, nobody's getting arrested here. This is a Class C misdemeanor. They're going to be issued a citation.
Yeah. Okay.
And just for my personal edification and for folks out there, the grandfathering that you're not in support of and you're not in support of is the grandfathering if somebody was not legal at the time of the passage of this ordinance. You want them to still be grandfathered. Or they were in legal process and have not been completely adjudicated. You want them to still be grandfathered.
There seems to be some confusion about this grandfathering provision.
I think so.
Please bring some clarity.
So the grandfathering provision basically says that you're grandfathered, you've been convicted of an offense, and you are grandfathered. If you are it's in there. If you're currently employed, you are grandfathered. You're not grandfathered if you have violated some provision of your conviction at the time of employment. In other words, so someone who's been completely convicted, somebody who has been charged with a crime and is being employed someplace is also grandfathered. Do you want to know why? Because they haven't been convicted yet. This only applies to somebody who has been convicted, is employed at a location at the time of the adoption of the ordinance, and they have violated some provision that's required by the court as part of their adjudicated process. That's the only thing it applies to, so that everybody's clear.
Because that was
Thank
not,
you.
that was
that's
not
not
clear.
what it says.
Yeah, that
no, it
was
is.
not.
It is what it says. It's 100% what it says.
Okay, so Charlie,
So let me start at the beginning. For purpose of this section, a covered sex offender is not in full compliance if, on the effective date of the ordinance or any time thereafter, the covered sex offender has been charged with a violation of any such requirement. And that requirement that is referencing a requirement above. So, on the effective date of the ordinance adopting the section, it has all times thereafter remained in full compliance with all sex offender registration, reporting, verification, and other requirements imposed by Chapter 62. That's the requirements that it's referencing. And so if you're not in compliance with any of those requirements, then
You're not
you're not
grandfathered.
grandfathered.
But somebody who's been
Anybody who has been charged with a sex crime but has not yet been convicted, this ordinance doesn't apply to them.
oh, so Charlie, that's not my concern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
that was my concern, because I thought the whole point was,
No, this.
how do
hold
you
on, hold on, hold on.
grandfather
Hold-
somebody
hold on.
who's not been adjudicated?
Let her finish.
No, hold on. So,
Just let her finish saying what she was saying.
And so that was the concern, that somebody, i.e. got pulled over for DWI, refused to blow in the whatever, and got their license suspended till they had their day in court. I thought the issue that we discussed was this person has offended, has a history of offense, has a history of a level 2, has gotten charged with whatever, not reporting a new, whatever, but is going through adjudication process, has not been found guilty or not, has only been arrested, has not been found guilty, that person is also grandfathered until such time as adjudication, which I had heartburn with, because if you lose your license for drunk driving, you should not be working in a place where you shouldn't be working until you're adjudicated. But you guys get to vote. That was where my confusion lied.
Councilmember Lowe.
It just seems that there are parameters, and you have to take care of those parameters if you are convicted, right? So, meeting with your PO, you got to do that. So there's certain things that you have to do. This just reinforces that. And it's already, Charlie, what'd you say?
I don't think I understood the question. Apologize.
No, it was just the process.
Right, sure. So so long as if you're a convicted sex offender and a covered convicted sex offender as defined under the definitions, and you are at your place of employment now, and you are in full compliance with registration, reporting, verification, and other requirements imposed by Chapter 62 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, you're fine. You're grandfathered. But if you're not in full compliance with those things, you are not.
Yeah, I don't know why we're making that difficult. And again, we're doing it for everyone. This rule applies to everyone. It's not a single individual. I feel like some of this is in a thing of thought of because it's toward an individual, and that is not the case. This is for everyone.
I would also like to remind the council that these are level 2 and level 3 offenders.
Right.
We specifically removed the Romeo, Juliet, the age, the et cetera. And I'll also remind the whole purpose was the protection of children, which is why we address minors in the ordinance. I'm not sure why we're having this conversation.
Councilmember Plunkett.
I apologize. I didn't realize my light was on.
Oh, so you don't have anything? Okay. Councilmember Meyer.
Thank you, Sylvia, for that. We are losing focus. We are getting down in dirty weeds and we're chewing things up, and I don't like the way it tastes. And this is pointless because we have the attorney, again, who has drafted the ordinance. We have agreed on the appeal. We have agreed on that. That's an easy thing. Let's focus on our duty to the city and the citizens, and especially the children. Let's focus on that right now. That's what we all need to be concerned about.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
Okay, so Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, sir.
So I think we need some definitions to even ask the question. So I'm assuming that failure to register is not a reportable sex crime in and of itself. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, that's correct. You only register when you've been convicted.
No, agreed. But if you fail to register, that is not a reportable crime.
After an initial conviction?
No, hold on. So
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if it's a reportable crime.
Fair
or
enough.
It's I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, so I'm going to move forward with my question, assuming that failure to report is not a reportable crime. And the wording in here that has me concerned is that if on the effective date of this ordinance or at any time thereafter, the covered sex offender has been charged with a violation of any such requirement which charge has not yet been dismissed or otherwise finally resolved in the covered sex offender's favor.
I was just told that failure to report is a separate crime.
It is a separate crime, but not a registerable sex offender crime.
Right, it's a separate crime.
Right, it is a separate crime, I totally agree.
Yeah, okay, I didn't know, I was just told.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm aware of that, but there is a set of crimes that are crimes that you have to register as a sex offender for, or if you're already a sex offender, you get to renew your registration as a sex offender, you know, that kind of thing. So what this says, what I'm reading from this, is that on the date of passage of this thing, that a person is not grandfathered if they have been charged with a violation of any such requirement, like you said, requirements imposed by Chapter 62, and that charge has not been dismissed or otherwise finally resolved in the covered sex offender's favor. And so what I see in those words is that a person has been charged with the crime of failure to register, and then that person is, before adjudication, before a court determines if they're guilty or innocent, before they, plead guilty or not guilty, that they would have their grandfathering taken away from them. And so because I interpret it that way, and you're nodding your head, yes.
I agree, no,
Okay,
I agree that
right.
that's an accurate statement.
Okay,
yes.
got it. So, and that has been my point this whole time, is that the grandfathering should apply to anyone that has not, if they have not had this new crime adjudicated by a court, the whole concept of innocent until proven guilty causes me issues. The other thing is that if they had committed this crime of failure to register on the exact same day as a person that was still dealing with court issues to determine their guilt, and they had pled guilty and they were finished with that process, then they could register and they would be grandfathered. And I mean, you're nodding your head again, so I assume you're agreeing that that's conceptually accurate.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And so what I struggle with is taking someone who has been accused of a crime but not yet proven that they did that crime, and that crime specific, we're talking about failure to register, and that if someone else had committed that same crime a year ago and their case was finished already, even if they had been found guilty, they would still be grandfathered. And so I struggle with treating someone differently when you would have grandfathered them if their case was finished, but not grandfathered them if their case is unfinished and you don't even know if they're going to be found guilty or not.
I don't know that and this is just, I guess, maybe it's my inability to completely follow, but if two people were charged at the exact same time
Right.
for not being in compliance, and it was, then that person would still not be in compliance with the ordinance at the time.
Well, so that's not necessarily the case, because in the process of being notified and being arrested and having a crime, it's a Class C felony. So having that crime,
Just because if they pled guilty at the time, if it was both at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
neither of them would be in compliance. Even if they pled guilty later and the case was resolved, this doesn't say the case has to be resolved. It says that if at the time and they weren't determined to be not guilty.
Well,
and I would point out, and I'm not arguing, I'm sorry, I'm certainly not trying to argue with you. I think this is a policy decision that y'all have to make.
Right.
I don't have a legal issue with the way this is drafted. I will say, not for purposes of your policy discussion, that if an individual if there is an individual who falls into this category and they are determined to be not guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction, ultimately, they can certainly file with the chief of police an exemption and plead their case to the chief that I was ultimately not convicted, so I should be entitled to continue my employment. They would have that right under the way this is drafted.
Madam City Manager.
Well, my point is, again, these are all matters of public safety. When we arrest a person for DWI, we take their license until they have their day in court. Why? So they don't go out and potentially kill another person, or cause harm, or cause et cetera. I don't think that's punitive punishment. They did something that was against the law. They will have their day in court, whether they did the breathalyzer, the field sobriety test, et cetera. If found not guilty, they get their license back. They do all of those things. This is also a matter of public safety. And the innocent until proven clause also applies. They will have their day in court. But to say that the public deserves better protection from a drunk driver than a sex offender really causes me great harm as to whether or not I want to consider my employment with the City of Bastrop. That is mind-blowing to me.
Councilmember Meyer.
Here's a question. Why would a convicted sex offender who is required to register not register? Think about that one.
Thank you, Councilmember Meyer. Council members, do we have any other discussion before we move forward with the motion? Okay. Council members, do we have a motion that we would like to move forward with?
Yes, I have a motion. I would like to approve the ordinance drafted with consideration on the clause for the appeal process to include not only just the chief of police, but to include the city manager in the appeal process. And also, and Charlie, I cannot remember the underline, you point.
Lines 99 and 100.
And 99 through 100, as our attorney has said, to identify to correct that.
Well, it's 98, 99, and 100.
Okay, 98, 99, 100.
No, it's lines 99 and 100.
Whatever the lines are that
those
the
lines.
attorney has pointed out that need to be corrected, that would be in my
I
motion.
feel like I'm arguing with everybody, and I'm not.
No, I don't want you, no, I'm just looking at it like 98 over here, it just doesn't look like it's underlined. That's why I only say that. I am not, look, Charlie, I am not trying to argue with you, sir. You are the expert. That is not my field, okay? So that's why we go to you for recommendations and answers.
Yeah, it's all of section D.
Okay. Councilmember Meyer, do you have anything else you want to add to the motion?
No, those were the only issues that we discussed that we thought should be in there.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Mayor?
Yes.
Point of order. Given the significance of this matter, the need for transparency and the amount of public input that this has had and concern from the public, I'd like to request a roll call vote, just so it is clearly on the record how each council member states on this.
Okay. Councilmember Fossler.
I wanted to go ahead and explain my vote. As the motion stands, I'm not comfortable adopting it. I support people's rights to work. And
Okay, so when we go ahead and, you hadn't voted yet, so I don't know if you can, we hadn't called for the.
Well, that should have been a topic of discussion while you were discussing
While you were,
it.
like, Councilmember Lowe said he seconded the
I didn't know how the
motion.
motion was going to go, so I didn't know if I was going to object to it or not.
Okay, so when Councilmember Meyer gave her motion, I said we have a motion. Do we have a second? Councilmember Lowe said he seconded
Correct,
the
and then
motion.
there's a round of discussion before the.
Okay. All right, we can have the discussion, but we just haven't said we were going to vote, but go ahead.
Okay, well, based on, as the motion stands, I'm not comfortable adopting it. I support people's rights to work, and I support people's right to recover, and in some ways it's still too broad of a brush, and in some ways it's still too targeted. So I will be voting no, and that's the reason why.
And Mayor, thank you for letting me make a statement. As the motion stands, I support all citizens in this city. I support the children. I support victims of sex crimes. I support the welfare and well-being of this city, what I was elected to do.
All right. Michael, can you call for roll, please?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Foster?
No.
Councilmember Plunkett?
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland?
Yeah, I had my light on.
I didn't see it, sorry.
Yeah. I would like to request a friendly amendment that we apply grandfathering equally to all by striking the last sentence of the covered sex offender.
Councilmember Meyer?
No, I don't accept that.
Okay, Mayor, I motion that we include grandfathering equally to all by striking the last sentence of the covered sex offender definition.
Second.
What is that?
A friendly amendment to my motion, right?
That's correct, and the friendly amendment was
So
struck down.
we don't
and
have a
so,
second. So you're making a motion?
So I made a
Okay.
motion.
Thank you, John. Could
Which-
you repeat that then for me, please? 'Cause
Yes.
Thank you.
My motion, which was seconded, is that we apply grandfathering equally to all individuals by striking the last sentence of the covered sex offender definition.
Is that through all tiers? So 2 and 3 as well? You don't want, you good with that?
I apologize. I don't understand your question yet. Try again.
As far as all sections?
Yes, can you clarify that and read it completely for the
Yes.
record?
Oh, sure.
So that's all tiers that you want, right?
No, no.
Tier 2, 3, all of them? Just
No, this is
everybody's carte blanche?
unrelated to that. Yeah.
Do what?
This is unrelated to that item.
Okay.
Right, no, so let me read it. Let me read it. Yeah. So this is section 8.6.003, and this is the, and this says, it is unlawful for a covered sex offender to be employed at a place of business located within 1,000 feet of any premises where children commonly gather, provided, however, that this subsection shall not apply to a covered sex offender who, on the effective date of the ordinance adopting this subsection, was employed at the place of business in question and has thereafter remained continuously so employed, and provided further that the covered sex offender was on the effective date of the ordinance adopting this subsection and has at all times thereafter remained in full compliance with all sex offender registration, reporting, verification, and other requirements imposed by Chapter 62 of the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, by any applicable order of a court or competent jurisdiction, and by any applicable condition of community supervision or parole. And so I would propose that we keep that and that we strike the last sentence from that says, for purposes of this section, a covered sex offender is not in full compliance if on the effective date of the ordinance or at any time thereafter the covered sex offender has been charged with a violation of any such requirement which charge has not been dismissed or otherwise finally resolved in the covered sex offender's favor, has been the subject of a finding by the Texas Department of Public Safety or by any other registration authority that the covered sex offender has failed to satisfy any such requirement, or 3, is subject to an unexecuted warrant or capias related to any such requirement. And so the motion is to strike that very long last sentence.
So to clarify, you want to strike the portion that says if somebody's going through the adjudication process, they're going to be grandfathered?
Yes.
Okay, similar to the drunk driving incident I raised.
Well, I don't have a ordinance in front of me on that matter, but I would have constitutional concerns with.
So that would, basically, we're going to, if we agree to that, we're going to provide a little loophole for registered sex offenders. That's what that is.
No, we already have a grandfathering clause.
Yes, but you're including that, and I really don't understand the emphasis of the concern for convicted sex offender over the safety and well-being of our citizens. And I don't understand. John, you're a really good man, and I know that. I want you to focus. You can't see the forest from the trees right now. I just want you to think about what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. We are concerned, and I know you are just as much as I am, with the safety of our people. So I just don't understand what we're doing here. This should have been a given thing to us. This is a no-brainer. And I don't get it.
And I'll try to explain from my perspective. So everything that you said resonates with me. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't take many vows. And I've taken a vow of marriage, and I've taken a vow to protect the Constitution of the United States. And I did that when I was sworn into council. And I believe that not offering grandfathering universally is a targeting mechanism that violates my vow that I made. Now, you get to interpret the Constitution and the vow in the way that suits you, and I don't claim that the way that I honor that vow is the same way as that you honor that vow. I don't struggle with you not voting with me on this. That's not, I'm telling you from a deep conviction, when we passed this ordinance the first time around with the simple residency restriction, the thing that allowed me to vote for it was because that text, that specific restriction had already been heard by the Supreme Court of the United States and was expressly allowed. This new one is in the gray area, and our attorney has worked very hard to make it legal. And I left the last executive session believing that we were going to apply grandfathering. And then we received an ordinance that had it differently than that. And so, no, I'm just.
And I appreciate that, John. I do, and I understand what you're saying. You also did take an oath when you were elected, and our job as elected officials is to consider the welfare and well-being of our citizens and their safety and their public safety. And the point that you just brought up about the grandfathering, Charlie, I think you've explained it, but could you please one more time explain why we have that there?
The specific provision that the Mayor Pro Tem would like to strike?
Yes.
Well, it's in there because staff requested that it be in there.
Yes, because that is,
It's what we're facing today.
These are
what we are
conditions.
facing today in the community.
Just a question, Mayor Pro Tem. You mentioned the word you feel like it's targeted, right? Are you talking about a specific individual now or individuals in general, people in the future, people of the past? Who is the target that you're referring to?
Now, this one, by removing the grandfathering from individuals whose cases have not been adjudicated, that is, in my opinion, not protecting the core constitutional requirements of innocent until proven guilty on that matter. And Councilperson Meyer, I concur that we have an obligation to protect the public. I absolutely agree with that. I cannot tell you how many criminal justice journals I have read on this topic and matter. And I'm not going to go explain those statistics because I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it if I wasn't reading from it.
And I appreciate that, John.
Right.
I really do. And I know you take deep dives, and I know that's how that's what you do, and we appreciate that so many times. However, we have an attorney sitting here at the dais. We have a chief of police with recommendations. We are not attorneys. We do not deal with these cases. I would like to take the recommendation of our city attorney and our chief of police.
Fair enough. I mean, but I see this as a policy question, right?
And that's,
Yeah.
you have that right.
Right, and I do have that right. And tying back to the oath that I took to defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution protects an individual from oppression by their government, right? And we are the government. And so the reason I felt...
The people are the government, really.
Well,
Yes, the people are the government. And to follow that line of thought, there would be nobody in jail waiting
hold
trial.
on. I have the floor, please.
Well, I mean, so it's been kind of a back and forth discussion, not just one sole person having the floor, Mayor Pro Tem. I get you're trying to make your point, but also like the people, there are people who are oppressed as well due to these situations. So, like I appreciate all of the concern and the extra explanation that you're doing on making the point, and I'm not trying to like just dissolve this matter, but we have been having this discussion for an hour and a half, and 80% of the conversation has come from you, right? And I'm sure everyone would like for us to get to some point in this so that we can move forward. We still have multiple other agenda items. We're going to have to call for an extension of time, no doubt. And so for the sake of everyone, can we please, Council, Mayor Pro Tem, can we get to a motion that we're going to move forward with?
So
I think we've discussed and explained the grandfathering multiple times. Either way you skin it, we know where we're at. Can we please go through a roll call? And
So, Mayor, we have a motion on the table that's been seconded to change the primary motion to include grandfathering for all in the way that I read out loud.
And that motion was made by Kirkland, seconded by Foster.
Yes.
so, Council, do we have any amendments to that? Any friendly, anything? No?
So I have, Charlie, how does this work? I have a motion on the floor. Councilmember Lowe seconded it for the original motion. Then to counter that, Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland and Councilmember Foster put their own motion in place. So tell me what the process.
So I'm not the parliamentarian. I'm the lawyer. But I'm happy to give my general understanding of, I assume we're following Robert's Rules of Order, in which case an individual can make a motion to amend the main motion,
Right.
which is what Mayor Pro Tem did, and there was a second. And so the process would be to vote on the amendment to the main motion.
Okay.
If it fails, then you vote on the main motion.
On the main motion. Okay, thank you. So what we would be voting on now is the amendment for the grandfathering
Correct.
exclusion. Okay, thank you, Charlie.
We follow Rosenberg's rules.
I'm sorry, I don't know who Rosenberg is.
And we
That's
will,
why I'm not the
On this point
parliamentarian.
Mayor, will we do roll call on that one also?
Yes, can we
Thank you.
please do the roll call on?
So the original, what we're voting on is Councilmember Meyer had a motion, Councilmember Lowe seconded.
Seconded.
There was a friendly amendment request by Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland right now, and the friendly amendment was denied by the
Councilmember
motion
Meyer.
maker.
And so he made a new motion. Councilmember Fosler seconded the motion. We'll have to do the roll call on that one, and
Well-
if it fails, then we'll go to the original motion. If that fails, then it,
I know about the amendments and they're not accepting that. It just seems, but I'm not.
So if you
parliamentarian
didn't
either.
accept the amendment, you need to vote on your motion.
That's my point.
You need to
Sylvia.
vote on your motion
That's
first.
my
If that
point.
dies for lack of
That's my
whatever,
point.
then
Yes,
it goes,
Thank
you
you.
guys get to make your second
that's
motion.
what I thought, but
That's not how the rules are written, though.
She didn't accept your friendly amendment.
I agree, and we've had that happen before.
That doesn't kill the motion on the floor. There's still a second.
It doesn't kill the motion. You act on whether or not the motion gets amended before you take up the original motion. Otherwise, it would be pointless to amend it if it were to fail. So,
Yeah.
if the original motion were to fail.
If the original motion were to fail, yeah.
And so if the amendment fails, then the original motion is still on the table, and then discussion or vote on that item. If the amendment passes, then the original motion is changed to what passes, and then that is then voted upon by the body.
So what you're going to vote on is Councilmember Meyer made a motion, you made an amendment. So at this point, her option is to remove her motion.
No.
Otherwise, she's opened the floor for a vote that you've amended, that's not what she intended.
Right, so if she chooses to, she can vote against the amendment, and then if the amendment fails, then the original motion is still on the table and would be voted on completely unaltered. If the motion passes, then the original motion is amended, and we vote on the amended original motion as if, not that she
Are you
did.
checking?
Yeah, I just pulled it up. Rosenberg's Rules of Order cheat sheet. The motion to amend is dealt the same way it's done with Robert's Rules. I move that this motion be amended in whatever way you want it to be amended. It needs a second. It's debatable. And even that one is amendable. So you could have a motion to amend his motion. And so then you vote on all of those, and then you back down to the main motion. And it takes a majority vote to amend it. So according to this Rosenberg's
But
rules.
your motion isn't really a motion because you haven't acted on this original motion.
No, but that's because under the rules, under this Rosenberg's rules, any member of the body, I'm going to take personalities out of it, any member of the body has a right to make a motion to amend the original motion. If that gets a second, then you debate the amendment, and then you vote on the amendment. If the amendment fails, then the original motion is voted on unaltered, to use Mayor Pro Tem's words. And if the motion, and again, I'm not a parliamentarian, and if the motion passes, then the original motion is amended, and you vote on the original motion as amended. Because you can't amend a motion.
Yeah.
You can't amend a motion once it's already been
Which
adopted.
goes back to, they don't really have a motion, they're amending her motion.
Well, your motion was, you had a motion, right? And it was seconded, all right?
Right.
We were having a debate, and then there was a motion to amend the motion. That was seconded, and we had a debate about that. And now is the time to vote on that amendment. If it fails, then we vote on the original
first
amendment.
motion.
And if it
On the original motion.
And if it passes, we then vote on the amended motion.
That's correct.
So now, first you vote on the amendment,
Correct.
and if the amendment passes, then you vote on the amended motion.
Which-
If it fails, you vote on the original motion.
Correct.
Which will result in the record reading that Councilmember Meyer and Councilmember Lowe made the motion and seconded.
Correct.
That's how the record will read.
Well, the record should.
Well, the record should
It should
reflect.
say all of that.
Yeah,
the record
that it was
should
amended.
The record should reflect that the original motion was made and the original motion was seconded. And then it should reflect that a motion to amend was made and that was seconded. And then it should reflect what's the vote on the amended motion. And then it should reflect what's the vote on the original motion.
So the amendment that has had a first and a second is concerning the grandfathering, as I look at it as a loophole for grandfathering. Is that that's what we're going to vote on right now on this amendment, the loophole amendment? That's what I'm going to call it, the loophole amendment.
All right, Michael, you ready to call a roll, please?
Yes, sir. Councilmember
And this is
Foster?
going to be on the amendment.
Yes, sir.
Aye.
Councilmember Plunkett?
I'm going to vote no because I trust Charlie that this has been addressed.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
No.
Councilmember Lowe.
No.
All right. Let the record show that the amendment does not go through by a 3-2 vote. All right, now we'll move to the second motion, or we'll go back to the original. Because the amendment didn't pass, we don't go to the amended motion, correct?
No,
And
just the original motion.
Just now we go, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying we're going back to the original motion. I was just explaining why we're going back.
Perfect.
All right, so now we're back to the original motion.
Yeah. I'm the OG. That's the original.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need a repeat of the motion, or is everyone still having it in their mind? I want to make sure it's clear. I don't want to hear
Right.
stoppage and all
I
of
would be
that.
happy to repeat that, Mayor, if you would like me to do that.
Okay, please do.
I make a motion to approve the ordinance as presented with the amendment, or the addition to, on the appeal process, it should state the police chief and the city manager, and also the lines that were brought up by our city attorney to be included
As underlined.
as underlined.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second from Councilmember Lowe. So, Michael, can we call for roll, please?
Yes, sir.
Hold on. I would like to functionally make an amendment, but not to change it in any material way. And it has to do with the appeal to the city manager. I had some language on like a way to do that procedurally. And right now with the wording that will be specified precisely as it was stated, I
Okay, this is our first reading,
agreed. That's a good point.
so
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
I
All right.
concur with that.
So, all right, we're ready to call for roll, please.
Councilmember Lowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland,
No.
Councilmember Plunkett,
Yes.
Councilmember Foster,
No.
All right, please let the record show that the motion passes 3-2. All right, thank you, everyone, for the discussion of agenda item 9D. Council, can one of y'all please give us more time?
Make a motion to extend our meeting time to 10:30?
We have one item on executive session that's been pulled and a second that has also just been pulled. So we will not have executive session.
So no need to extend?
10:15 at the most.
10
This
okay,
one
make
may
a-
also have long conversations.
Thank you, Sylvia. Make a motion to
Thank
extend
you.
our meeting till 10:15.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Our meeting's extended to 10:15. All right, agenda item 9E, consider an action to approve the second reading of ordinance number 2026-15, amending the operating and capital budget for the fiscal year 2026 in accordance with the existing statutory requirements, appropriating the various amounts herein attached as Exhibit A, repealing all prior ordinances and actions in conflict herewith, establishing the effective date. Miss Judy.
Good evening, everyone. Judy Sandrusi, Finance Director. This item it had its first reading on May 26, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
Okay.
Oh, no, he doesn't. His light just was on.
Okay.
Council,
Move to approve.
Second.
have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Thank you, Ms. Judy.
Y'all have a good night.
You too. Agenda item 9F, consider an act regarding the placement and display of a portrait of former Mayor Lyle Nelson on the city's wall of mayors in recognition of his service and tenure as mayor. Michael?
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. So as an organization, we post or display, I apologize, the prior mayor's picture on the wall as evidenced on the left. Staff was asked to bring this in front of council for discussion. Thank you.
All right. Council, do we have any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
So this item was, I don't know, I'm almost guessing that this was put up here for us to discuss because of a comment that I made flippantly at one point. And considered it, and I think it would be appropriate, because that's a historical record of our mayors, to put that up there. I also, the recall process in the city of Bastrop has two components. Actually, the first component is the recall process, and that is a power given to the people that they exercise by submitting a validated recall petition to the city secretary, and she validates it. And that part of that process was achieved, and thus the former mayor was recalled. The second part of the process is called removal. And if the individual who has been recalled chooses not to resign, then they are removed. And so I also think that the historic record of the person being up on the wall, I don't want to go put, recalled on the plaque or anything. I think that's excessive. But I almost want to, honestly, I want to request just a simple asterisk next to the year that he finished his service, and it represents the resignation of the mayor.
All right, so just kind of a little thought that I have on this situation. I know you're not a lifelong resident, you're not generational, but there's some mayors up here that we've heard stories about that some people may not agree that they need to be on that wall, but they're up there. We all for sure don't have any idea about that first group over there and what they've done or what they didn't do, and yet they are here on this wall. The people elected him. I know, you put in a tremendous amount of work for months to go garner all of those signatures, but there was not, even with the signatures, we still did not find ourselves in that position. I don't think an asterisk should be up there. I think his story will tell itself. In 50 years, this wall will be here and people aren't going to think back to what happened. They're just going to be like, he served. I mean, we have mayors up there that have served and they have timelines, and I've looked at all of them, and some of them I'm like, I wonder what was going on. We even have a gap up there where we don't have a mayor, right? And so we don't know. He served for 2 years. He was voted by the people, and I think that should be the reason. Councilmember Lowe?
Yeah, I did echo that. I mean, it's about history. And again, we should be in the business of trying to research all these mayors, because that's what we'd be doing if we went the other way. You know what I mean? So I think the timeline of his history at the bottom will tell the story. It's short years. So, I know the mayor's term is 3 years. So it'll be short a few years. So. And then everybody can, the Wayback Machine never forgets. So, you can count on that. So, if if anybody needs to know the story, just ever get a wild hair and say, hey, let me just look up Lyle Nelson, the story will pop up.
I guarantee you right now, if you Google it, you're going to find out what happened, and your name's going to come up as well. Councilmember Plunkett.
Yeah, I got to say, when this came up, I was like, yeah, of course. I was like, oh boy. But I did. The more I thought about it, and I agree. Those are the folks who serve the position, and so I've got no issue with putting the photo up there. But I think it's important to note that if he had done what he did and accepted the consequences of it, he might still be sitting there in your spot.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it was the fact that he would not accept the consequences, that he continued to use the office and his position where you're sitting right now to try to rehabilitate his image, to try to go after those who he felt like betrayed him or whatever. That's what got him removed. It wasn't the original issue. So I think an asterisk is pretty appropriate. I think that's a pretty subtle and a pretty appropriate way to commemorate his term. I've got no issue with the asterisk.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland, your light's still on.
Decided to turn it off.
Okay. Council, do we have any further discussion? All right, do we have a motion on the floor?
Motion to approve.
Second.
With or without the asterisk?
As written in the agenda, without the asterisk.
Okay.
Same. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Hold up, Mayor.
Yes.
I just want to say that I appreciated your perspective, specifically the fact that lifelong Bastropians know things about those other guys.
And I wasn't trying to throw you down, right? I've been accused of saying stuff about my history versus other people, so I just want to make sure.
I didn't perceive it that way.
Okay.
I perceived it as you were saying that he's not the only one.
Well, it's
that's what I heard. Okay. And then you referred back to there's some gaps, and we don't know all the stories of those guys there. And I grant that. I honestly, I found that compelling. And so I'm going to vote for this as is.
All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimous. Thank you, council, for that one.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that passes unanimous. Thank you, Bastrop. Thank you, council. Thank you, people who watched and sat in with us. We appreciate y'all's patience and sticking around. We love you guys. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Have a great day, great night, great weekend.